Good evening. I'm calling this town meeting to order. Welcome. As always, we will start with the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'm informed by the town clerk that we now have a quorum. We have 325 people at last count in attendance, and so we can carry on our business tonight. The first order of business is the rules. The rules for town meeting are according to town meeting time. It's a very exciting time in the moderator's world. There's a new edition out. So if you would like to update your library, you can do so at the Mass Moderators Association website. It's a little on the expensive side, but worth every page. So and I should say, the work is town meeting time, a handbook of parliamentary law, and it's the rules that we have been adhering to for quite some time at town meeting. One initial motion that I would like to make for tonight's proceedings is to allow the moderator, me, to make a judgment call as to the quantum of the vote. Very often, the law requires that a vote be done by a 9/10 amount or a 2/3 amount. This would allow me to make that judgment call. Of course, if anybody disputes it, and sometimes they do, we will go to a hand count and make it official. But just let me know if you would like to move to an official count if you think I have gotten things wrong. Pardon me? Oh, yeah. Do I have a second? All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. I would like to recognize our new state representative, Ken Sweezy, who has joined us tonight. We'll be seeing him in just a few moments. As usual, we begin town meeting by remembering members of our community who we've lost since we last met. We have two people to remember tonight. So if you could, we could have a moment of silence in honor of Leslie N. Prerario and Patricia A. Concree, both of whom have volunteered for the town. Leslie with the library, Patricia was a long time counter of votes and did quite a bit of work with the clerk's office. We're going to miss both of them terribly. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Thank you. And at this time, before I go on to that, oftentimes people have asked me, who are those people sitting on the stage? And so I just wanted to introduce everyone. First off, I'm the moderator. My name is Sean Keeley. I'm elected to a 3-year term to run town meeting and to appoint the Finance Committee. But on my left is the Finance Committee, so if each member could introduce themselves.
Kevin Sullivan, Chairman.
Aaron Barr.
Pepper Santalucia.
Steve Amico.
And on my right is the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board, and who are each elected to 3-year terms. So if you could introduce yourselves.
Laura Kemet. Ann Rain.
Good evening, Joe Weeks.
Ed Heel.
Dave George.
Thank you very much. Now, behind the screen are several of the town employees who are key to town meeting, including our town administrator, Lisa Green, and our town council, Kate Federoff. You'll probably be hearing from each of them a couple of times during the town meeting. Unfortunately, they're obscured right now, so I'll kind of hum the Johnny Carson theme when they come out to discuss things. The screen is down because we're going to have a very brief presentation before Article 5, which is the budget. And so after that, the screen will go up and we'll be able to see everybody. Next, we have a presentation. Unfortunately for the town, we are losing a couple of longtime members of Town Hall, and so I'll call upon Laura Kemet to make a presentation.
Okay, thank you. Each one of these people truly is invaluable to the town and has put years of service and lots of blood, sweat, and tears in different proportions and different years into their jobs. But I have made a commitment to at least one of them that I would keep this extremely brief, somebody who doesn't really like to have a lot of attention paid to her. And that would be our esteemed town clerk, Beth Sloan. So Beth has, yep. So Beth started in the treasurer collector's office in 2001. And here we are 24 years later. And she's grown and tried her hand at many, many different positions. And I know in the time that I've been on the select board, she's been invaluable to us and to the town. And things have changed. Can you imagine from that period of time to now how much the town clerk's job has changed with all of the electronics and open meeting law changes and all of those changes? But anyway, thank you, Beth, for everything that you've done on behalf of the town. And and I know you said you didn't want a big deal, but we're downplaying it. We're doing this like the lowest possible thing we can do. I'm doing the best we can. And so I reached out to Representative Sweezy.
Thank you for coming, everybody, and thank you, obviously, to Beth. As Laura just mentioned, the town clerk's role has changed quite a bit, and the one I would add is with the expansion of mail-in voting. And as we've gotten to know each other the last 3-4 years now over my campaigns, it's clear to see that we've had such a professional town hall and have been so fortunate to have you. So thank you again for your service. And what I'll be presenting is an official citation from the Commonwealth, the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, myself, and our other representative, Dave DeCoste, who couldn't be here today, to thank you on behalf of ourselves, the Commonwealth, and everyone here in town. So thank you once again.
Okay. And I'm not sure, is Ann Merlin here this evening? It's a seat. Ann, okay, great. And Ann is another tenured employee with 25 years, and again, in various positions. I can't emphasize enough the commitment that these people have had to our town. It's more than a paid job for all of these guys, and there's just no way to really express that. If you deal with them on a day-to-day basis, or even occasionally, you probably see that, and definitely that's the case with her. So we've got a frameable certificate for you, Ann, or you could use it as a dartboard, depending upon where you're at. And again, we've got Representative Sweezy here.
And as well, and just to add, I started out just serving on a couple of committees in town, and even that is quite the labor of love. So congratulations to you, Ann, directly on 25 years to the town of Hanson. We are all grateful. And once again, on behalf of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, Representative DeCoste, and myself, thank you so much for your service.
And last but certainly not least, last year we had our town assessor, our beloved town assessor, Lika Marsh, retire. And we really didn't recognize her at any of our subsequent meetings. And so just wanted to recognize her service. And again, she's gone well above and beyond and has been with us for a number of years. And I don't know if Lee's here or not. It's just to see your faces, so it's different. Up, okay, she knows, yeah, you're in the nosebleed seats back there, Lee. And so if you just would join me in congratulating Lee and thanking him. All right, and with that, I'll turn it back to our moderator.
Thank you. Now, a question that always comes up at the very beginning of the meeting, and for great reasons, is how much money do we actually have in our various accounts? And so, before the meeting, in free cash, we have $2,495,618.83. In the stabilization fund, we have $1,526,648.28. In the ambulance fund, we have $1,556,457.02. In the conservation trust, we have $23,003.99. And in the school capital stabilization fund, we have $30,152.19. Now, the anticipation is that if there are no changes made to the budgets put forward by the Finance Committee, we would have $344,482.64 left in free cash. We would have $1,726,648.28 in the stabilization fund. $831,457.02 in the ambulance fund, $50,253.99 in the conservation trust, and $30,152.19 in the school capital stabilization fund. So, with that, I will briefly adjourn the annual town meeting so that we can move into the special town meeting. So if you look at your informational warrant for the special town meeting, Article 1, I move the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $4,464.94 to pay unpaid bills from the prior fiscal year as printed in the informational warrant. Do I have a second? Thank you. Explanation. These funds are needed to pay prior fiscal year bills received after the close of the fiscal year. And I should point out that this requires a 9/10 majority vote. Any discussion on Article 1? And it's a big room, so you're going to kind of have to really get my attention. And if you do want to speak on an issue, please come to one of the two microphones that are set up, and I will recognize you. So, seeing no comments or questions, all those in favor of Article 1 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it by the required 9/10 majority. Article 2 is being passed over. Article 3, I move the town vote to transfer $12,750 from free cash to update a plan entitled Proposed Sidewalk Design North Side of Main Street from High Street to Indian Head Street, Hanson, Mass. This will include, but is not limited to, updating existing conditions survey originally performed in 2002, delineation and location of any wetland resource areas within 100 feet of proposed construction, and preparation of an existing conditions-based plan for use in design of sidewalks. Do I have a second? The purpose of this article is to update the plan for the construction of sidewalks along the north side of Main Street. The The plan will be updated with the existing conditions being brought up to current conditions and the proposed sidewalk design being updated to meet current Massachusetts design criteria along with Americans with Disability Act requirements. Any questions or concerns on Article 3? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Article 3 is adopted. I just want to point out that one of the things that Beth Sloan does so well is correct me throughout town meeting. You can't see it, but her face gets really anxious when I do something wrong. But she's making sure I'm doing everything correctly. One thing that we should have done was to take a vote on passing over Article 2. So I have a motion to pass over Article 2. Is there a second? All those in favor of passing over Article 2 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 2 is passed over. Article 4. I move the town vote to transfer $15,000 from free cash to hire an outside firm to draft a conceptual plan of the revitalization of Main Street, Hanson. Do I have a second? Seconded. The town planner is working on revitalizing downtown Main Street by the MBTA station in order to apply for available grant funds to achieve some of the changes on Main Street. The town planner will need a conceptual design of how we would like Main Street to progress. Any questions or comments on Article 4? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Article 4 is adopted. Article 5. I move the town vote to transfer $3,000 from free cash for the purpose of scanning planning board subdivision, approval not required plans, as-built plans, and easement descriptions into electronic format. Do I have a second? These funds will be used to cover the expense incurred for scanning plans and other municipal documents into an electronic format. Any questions or concerns on Article 5? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 5 is adopted. Article 6. I move the town vote to transfer from free cash in the amount of $97,059.35 to cover the additional expenses related to snow and ice removal. Seconded. Explanation. This year has been slightly more intense of a winter than the previous 2 years. This winter is by far not bad. However, all of the small 4-hour call-ins to treat slick roads have been frequent. The last 3 plowable events have all been either late Saturday that runs into Sunday that ran into a holiday Monday. Contractors were paid the same rate, however. Town employees earned double time. The cost isn't huge compared to everything else, but after multiple double time calls seemingly every weekend in February, it starts to take a toll. As of the week of February 24th, 2025, the Highway Department began deficit spending in the snow and ice budget, with the remaining salt bills expected later on in the season. However, the salt storage barn will be completely full and our vehicles will be completely serviced as well. For the rest of this snow season, I hope it's over, my God, only essential items were purchased, otherwise budget spending was frozen. Any questions or concerns on Article 6? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 6 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 6 is adopted. Article 7. I move the town vote to create a library building committee to be appointed by the select board until such time the library building project is complete. Do I have a second? Explanation. The library has been awarded a grant for design and planning for either an expansion or a new building. The library building committee will oversee this process. Any questions or concerns on Article 7? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 is adopted. I will therefore close this year's special meeting and reopen the annual town meeting. So now we're on to Article 1 in your informational warrant for the annual town meeting. Article 1, I move the town vote to hear reports of the various town officers, committees, special committees, and act thereon. Seconded, the reports voted on are those published in the 2024 town report. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 1 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 1 is adopted. Article 2, I move the town vote to authorize the treasurer-collector to enter into compensating balance agreements during fiscal year 2026 as permitted by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F. Seconded. Explanation: every year this article is voted. It simply allows the treasurer-collector to maintain accounts using credits instead of money to pay for banking charges. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 2 is adopted. Article 3, I move the town vote to fix the salary and compensation of all paid elected officers and committees as printed in the informational warrant. Town clerk, fiscal year 2025, $80,000, fiscal year 2026, $82,400. Seconded. This article sets the salaries for the elected officials. Article 5 funds those salaries. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 3 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 3 is adopted. Article 4, I move the town vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half for the establishment of a water enterprise fund effective fiscal year 2026. Seconded. Explanation. This changes the accounting and reporting of the water department. The accounting for the water department operates under Chapter 41, Section 69B of the Massachusetts General Laws. This article proposes to make the water department an enterprise fund in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half. The benefits are the following. The enterprise fund will be voted separately and not part of the general fund. The Division of Local Services within the Department of Revenue will certify the retained earnings at the end of each fiscal year for appropriation at town meeting. And both revenues and expenses will be reported on a new schedule when setting the tax rate. Any questions or concerns on Article 4? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 4 signify... Oh, I'm sorry, if you could come to the microphone, please. And anybody who has a question or concern, if you could just start by giving your name and address for the town clerk.
Scott Cheney, 8 High Street. Are there any negatives to establishing this fund?
We can't, oh, Lisa, do you want to speak to this, or is... Oh, okay, great. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. The town accountant.
Okay. I don't see any negatives. It's actually just a more modern way to account for things. And the town refers to it as an enterprise fund, but it never adopted the law. So I'd consider this a housekeeping article, and I think it is better. It's more transparent to town meeting and the DLS. So I don't see any negatives to it.
Are there any additional expenses to funding this to the taxpayer?
The only additional expenses that would be is we recognize some of the indirect costs. Like I think we have like 5% of the treasurer's salary, 5% of the accountant, and 15% of the treasurer collector. What it does is it recognizes some of the expenses that are in the general fund operating budget benefit the water sewer. So you'll see that when you look at Article 13, you vote the budget. It's very transparent of how much of the accountant's budget, how much of the treasurer's budget, and how much of the treasurer collector's budget in the audit. So that's it. So it's just a more transparent way of doing things.
If there's any if it does pass, are there any impacts on water rates?
I don't know.
No. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 4 is adopted. Now, Article 5 and Article 6 are the budget. Usually we just vote on one budget, but because we have a 2.5 override on the ballot coming up May 17th? May 17th at the middle school, from what hour to what hour? 10 to 5. Whatever we do tonight, that question will be on the ballot that day, and whatever the vote comes out will be what is done, whether we have an override or we reject it. So in anticipation of that, what we're going to do is we're going to do one budget, Article 5, without the override in place. And then Article 6, if the override passes, then we'll use the Article 6 numbers. So it's entirely contingent on how the town votes. So before we start with Article 5, our town administrator, Lisa Green, has asked to give a very brief presentation on the override to kind of start the conversation. So, Ms. Green.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to town meeting. We're going to do a quick 9-slide presentation on basically override information. Jacob, could you show the first slide? Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, what is an override? The town of Hanson is allowed to increase its tax levy, which a levy is how much we can collect through taxes, by 2.5% each year. Again, a tax levy is the amount of taxes that the town can assess and collect from town residents. Any new taxable development can also increase the tax levy, which is called new growth. Only the town residents can override the levy limit at an annual election. And we do have a little box at the bottom that shows some of how the tax levy is calculated. Next slide, please. Town of Hanson revenue sources are through taxation, which is real estate and personal property, state aid, which is your Chapter 70, unrestricted general government aid, local program reimbursements, local receipts, which are the motor vehicle excise, meals excise, licenses, permits, fees, and investment income. And other financing sources would be your free cash, stabilization, special revenue funds, ambulance receipts. The Hanson budget is funded predominantly by property taxes. And as you can see in the charts here, we have FY25 and FY26. Real estate taxes are the main source of our revenue. The projected revenues for FY26 on the real estate taxes are $28,965,718. Our local receipts are $3,030,505. Our local aid, $2,001,353. And then you can see the difference between FY25 and FY26. Property taxes, again, are the main source of revenue. As you can see on the pie chart, property taxes make up 85% of the town's revenues. We have our local receipts, which is 9%. Local aid is 6%. So unfortunately, the state is giving less and less to towns, which costs more in your property taxes to be able to run local government. Under the FY26 proposed budget category, our education is 48% of the budget, public safety 20%, General government, which is your town hall, 7%. Library recreation is 2% of the budget. Human services, which is your COA, Board of Health, is 1%. And then our public works is 5%. And then we have employee benefits, which does not include the schools. Those employee benefits are separate. Employee benefits for the town are 16%. So this is how the budget is divided amongst all the different costs of the town. Okay, the override, Town of Hanson is asking for a $3 million override increase in the tax levy. And what this is going to allow us to do is going to be including the hiring of 4 additional firefighters, which is $344,000 of the $3 million. And it also allows for a sustainable budget by eliminating the appropriation of $1.61 million of free cash, which helps our bond rating. It's kind of like our credit score. So the lower your credit score, the higher you pay in interest when you borrow money, the higher your credit score, the lower you pay. So we want to do this in order to help our bond rating. And what it will do is it will avert the following reductions: $940,000 to the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, $130,000 for facility manager and IT, $160,000 will eliminate 1 full-time police officer and 1 firefighter, $216,000 to defer the purchase of 3 police cruisers, $73,000 will eliminate 1 full-time highway laborer and other expenses, $27,000 reduction in transfer station hours, $49,000 reduction in health, council on aging, library, and parks and fields. The next slide is an override history, which can be found on the Division of Local Services, the Department of Revenue. It shows basically the overrides that Hanson has asked for in the past. We have the losses up in the top, and in the bottom will show the win, and then also will show the description of the override and what the purpose was of the override, and then the amounts. There is a website that we have. It's www.hansonbudget.com. The information on this website, there's a lot of good information regarding the override. And right on the first page, as soon as you go to this website, you will see a calculator, tax impact calculator. You fill in the assessed value of your home, which you can get either online or you can call the town assessor's office and they can help you with that. If you plug in that assessed value at the bottom, it will give you what the monthly cost is and what your annual cost tax implication will be. So you will find that on that website, as well as a lot of frequently asked questions and documents regarding the budget and the override. So we do recommend you visit the website because it is an excellent website for information. Thank you.
Could we have the screen raised, and thank you. Very bright. I've always wanted to ask this, and I'm going to indulge myself tonight. How many people here don't know how they're going to vote on the override? Just show of hands. Okay, I see 3. Okay, all right. Just wanted to know. Maybe that affects our debate. I don't know. We're going to have a nice debate about this. And to kick us off, I'll recognize Kevin Sullivan, the chair of the Finance Committee.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking all of you for being here tonight. Participating in town meeting is one of the most direct and meaningful ways we shape the future of our community together. Tonight, I'm here to speak frankly about the serious budget challenges we face and why the Finance Committee, after extensive review, is recommending a $3 million operational override to maintain the services Hanson's residents rely on every day. As many of you know, 85% of our town's revenue comes from property taxes. Under the limits of Proposition 2.5, our allowable revenue growth simply isn't keeping pace with the rising costs of operating the town. especially in the face of inflation, contractual obligations, and the increasing demands on our public services. This isn't about funding new programs. This is about preserving the level of service that we have come to expect. Our police and fire departments, which are already operating with lean staffing and ever-increasing call volumes. Our town hall, library, recreation, and outdoor spaces, all of which provide vital functions for residents and businesses alike. Our schools, which are essential not only to the education of our children, but to the strength and stability of our town. Without an override, we will be forced to make extremely difficult decisions, including depleting free cash reserves, which are largely meant for capital expenditures, or making deep cuts across every department. That means fewer first responders, fewer town staff to serve the public, reduced hours and access at all public buildings. I want to emphasize, the Finance Committee has scrutinized this budget. We've worked with every department head. We've reviewed every line item. We have prioritized needs, not wants. But the numbers don't lie. The gap is real, and we can no longer stretch our limited resources without damaging the core of what makes Hanson work. We understand that a $3 million override is a serious request. It means a real increase in taxes, and we don't take that lightly. But if we fail to act, the cost to our town services and our long-term financial stability will be even greater. We are at a crossroads. We can either provide the resources necessary to maintain the town we value, or we can begin to dismantle the services that hold it together. This is not a scare tactic. It's a fiscal reality. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I urge you to support this override and to help us preserve the Hanson that we care deeply about, safe, well-preserved, and financially responsible.
And having been on the Finance Committee, I want to point out that the Finance Committee starts working on this budget that we're going to vote on tonight back in November. And with most of the meetings with the department heads coming in January and February. So, I mean, a lot of time and effort goes into the creation of one budget, never mind two. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, what we'll do, recognize Mr. Tufo.
Jim Tuffo, 199 Brook Bend Road. Mr. Moderator, through you to the appropriate town official, when was the last time Hanson actually approved an override?
I was here for it, but 2021 is the answer that I have. Fiscal year 2022. Now, what we're going to do for Article 5 is if you look in your informational warrant, you'll find the budget. I know I'm a long way away from you, but you'll find the budget with all the different line items. It's entitled Operating Budget Fiscal Year 2026. What we're going to do for Article 5 is we're going to be examining the column Finance Committee without override. It should be right under the words Fiscal Year 2026. The next column, Finance Committee with override, is going to be what we'll vote on in Article 6. So just concentrate on the column Finance Committee without override. What I'm going to do, and the easy way to see where the reductions are going to happen is there's a column that says reductions, and you'll see the math should work between the two columns. So what I'm going to do as always is call off each line number. Oh, I'm sorry. One moment, I'll just finish this thought. I'll call off each line number. If you would like to discuss it further, or you have a question or a concern, yell out hold so I can hear it, and I'll hold it. And what we'll do is all the ones that no one has a question on, we'll just accept. And then we'll go back and take each line that people had questions or concerns about. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Hillary Niffen, Gorwin Drive. Perhaps I'm ahead of myself, but I think that was my question. So legally, the school committee is the only board that can lower the assessment to the schools, to the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. And based on what you just said, we would be voting on a number that the school committee did not approve, which is not legal, or that's my question. So the Finance Committee without override for Article 5, we would be voting on that. And if that's the case, that is not the number that the school committee approved as an assessment to Hanson. So we can't vote on that number. But
I'll call upon the town council.
So if the town votes a number that's less than the school committee, it's considered a rejection of that budget. It gets sent back to the school committee. They can decide to either accept that number or send it back to the town, which would trigger a second town meeting. And you go through that whole process, which could lead to a district-wide vote.
Yep, I'm on the school committee. But I guess my clarification is I was under the impression, legally speaking, that the only number that could be voted on is the number that the school committee set as the assessment.
No. So we put forward the number that we want, meaning we, the town, puts forward the number they want. What the law requires is that the town meeting be made aware of what the school committee's vote was and what the proposed budget was. So they need to be made aware that this is a lower number than what the school committee voted.
Right. And I guess I would add that the number really only gets lowered by the school committee and then sent back to a town meeting, which is what you had just said, which is what we did last year. So thank you.
Very well. All right, so I'll call each line. Line 1, accepted. Line 2, accepted. Line 3, accepted. Line 4, accepted. Line 5, accepted. Line 6, accepted. Line 7, accepted. Line 8, accepted. Line 9, accepted. Line 10, accepted. Line 11, accepted. Line 12, accepted. Line 13, accepted. Line 14, accepted. Line 15, accepted. Line 16, accepted. Line 17, accepted. Line 18, accepted. Line 19, accepted. Line 20, accepted. Line 21, accepted. Line 22, accepted. Line 23, accepted. Line 24, accepted. Line 25, accepted. Line 26, accepted. Line 27, accepted. Line 28, accepted. Line 29, accepted. Line 30, accepted. Line 31, accepted. Line 32, accepted. Line 33, accepted. Line 34, accepted. Line 35, line 35 is held. Line 36, accepted. Line 37, accepted. Line 38, accepted. Line 39, accepted. Line 40, Line 40 is held. Line 41, accepted. Line 42, oh, I'm sorry. Line 41 was. I'm going to reopen line 41 for just a moment. There was a number missing in your informational warrant that I just want to make you aware of. On line 41 expenses, $254,020 will come from taxation, and $50,000 will come from the ambulance receipt fund, for a total of $304,020. Any questions or concerns on 41? Seeing none. Accepted. Line 42. Accepted. Line 43. Accepted. Line 44. Accepted. Line 45. Accepted. Line 46. Accepted. Line 47. Accepted. Line 48. Accepted. Line 49. Accepted. Line 50. Accepted. Line 51. Accepted. Line 52. Accepted. Line 53. Accepted. Line 54. Accepted. Line 55. Accepted. Line 56. Accepted. Line 57. Line 57 is held. Line 58. Accepted. Line 59. Accepted. Line 60. Line 60 is held. Line 61. Line 61 is held. Pardon me. Line 62. Accepted. Line 63. Accepted. Line 64. Accepted. Line 65. Accepted. Line 66. Accepted. Line 67. Accepted. Line 68. Line 68 is held. Line 69. Accepted. Line 70. Accepted. Line 71. Accepted. Line 72. Accepted. Line 73. Line 73 is held. Line 74. Accepted. Line 75. Accepted. Line 76. Accepted. Line 77. Accepted. Line 78. Accepted. Line 80. Accepted. Line 81. Accepted. Line 82. Line 82 is held. Line 83. Accepted. Line 84. Accepted. Line 85. Accepted. Line 86. Accepted. Line 87. Accepted. Line 88. Accepted. Line 89. Accepted. line 90. Well,
No. Since it's an enterprise fund, it's part of this budget.
okay. And since we voted to make the water department an enterprise fund, it won't be part of this budget. So lines 90 through 93, I'll just say accepted, unless somebody has a problem. Okay. 90, 91, 92, 93. Okay, so now we'll return to each line in order. We had our first hold with line 35. Anyone with questions or concerns on line 35? Oh, if you could come to the microphone, please.
I'm Karen Rutherford, 243 Liberty Street, and I mean, I might be misunderstanding this, so bear with me. I support the fact that our town employees ought to have a raise. I'm just not sure if this is if we don't put this on a hold, is that part of the Article 6 override? I'm just saying, I believe these folks ought to have a raise, and I'm not sure if by protesting that now, unless it's going to be dealt with in the override question.
Quite frankly, we can talk about it either now or then. I just don't want to be repetitive.
Right. So most of my other holds were the same thing. It's just supporting people's raises. So, thanks.
Chief, do you want to weigh in on this?
There is actually no raise in either one of those budgets. So the one that, correct me if I'm wrong, the one that we're discussing right now, this first budget, is if the override does not go through.
That's correct.
That means we'll lose a police officer. There's no raises figured into this. The next budget, just to answer your question when we get to the next budget, there's in that either. That's just keeping the current staff we have.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or concerns on line 35? Seeing none. All those in favor of line 35? Oh, I'm sorry. Again, big room. I'm sorry if I missed you. But please, if you have a question or concern, please come to the microphone. Not yet, no.
Dave Beauvais, 149 Holmes Street. A question for the chief?
Sure.
Chief, you say no raises at all. Is there nothing provisioned in the collective bargaining agreements that would be structural to this budget?
So the collective bargaining agreement expires June 30th. And we haven't, although we're in negotiations, we have not come to any agreement yet. So I can't project a potential raise in a contract while we're negotiating said raises or cost of living or no raises. That's strictly a budget, like I said, to keep what we have right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 35 at the figure of $2,975,580. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 35 is accepted. Our next line is line 40, fire and ambulance salaries. Any questions or concerns on that? Please.
This is Karen Rutherford again, 243 Liberty Street. Perhaps the fire and safety could answer that question, because that was my concern again, is that people aren't getting a raise, or they're losing things from the department. So
I see Chief O'Brien.
Good evening. Same answer as the police chief. The fire union is currently in contract negotiations, but with the budget number that's on here right now, we will have to reduce the budget by $80,000.
Any other questions or concerns on line 40? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting line 40 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Our line 40 is accepted. The next line that was held is line 57, Whitman Hanson Regional Operating Assessment. Any questions or concerns? Oh. You should just stay at the microphone. You're getting your steps in.
Karen Rutherford again. I just want to say I support what the school committee has projected for our budget and would encourage us to accept what the school committee has proposed. Thanks.
Any other questions or concerns?
Yes, Gail Joyce, 276 Lakeside Road. I had a question concerning, if our town rejects the school committee budget, must go back to reevaluate and lower the budget. Was that ever discussed? As, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but I'm confused on, the override and the school committee, because they said it's going up. If we do vote for the override, it's going up 95%, or what is it, 955? I'm a little confused on this school and the budget, and because it would increase everything if we do on the taxpayers, because we are taxpayers and we pay 93%, and I know the finance guy, Kevin, had mentioned that it was 89% that it would go to property taxes if the override went through. I heard that it was 93%.
Mr. Sullivan.
If I'm making myself clear.
So there are several different scenarios that play out going forward. I would ask everyone to look at this as the contingency budget. As Mrs. Niffen mentioned, this number goes back to the school committee, and they can either reject or accept it. They can reject it, and then there's I'm not going to even start talking super town meeting and all of that, but this is the base. This is what we can afford, is what we're saying. This number you're looking at right here without the override is what the town of Hanson is saying we can afford to give the schools this year. If the override passes, the school will get the amount that they requested, but without an override, we're telling them, this is our notice to the school saying we can't pay your bill, and you have to think about readjusting it. Again, they don't have to. That's up to the school committee. So that's sort of a longer play as to where we're going. So I would urge everyone to look at this number and look at that column. These are all contingency numbers. This is the bare minimum of what we can accept.
So this is, so then if we decide not to vote on this override, is that what you're saying? Then it would go back to the school?
This entire column that we're voting on is without the override.
Okay.
So this is without all the additional funds that would be provided with an override.
Right.
So these are the base funds that we would say to the superintendent and the school committee, this is what we can afford.
Right, and then that would eliminate, that would mean that there would be all these budget cuts, including, losing the fire department and all of that coming up, the police department, the highway department. We would lose funding.
Correct. This entire column that we're voting on factors in those cuts.
Oh.
So those cuts are all in this column. That's why when we go to vote for the override, you'll notice there's a third column that says reduction, which is where all the reductions come. So this is without the override. This is the bare minimum. These are with the cuts that are associated to each of the town departments.
Right, and our taxes would remain the same.
Well, they won't remain. I can't say they'll remain the same either way because you can raise up to the 2.5 limit.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we don't go beyond the 2.5 limit, correct?
Correct. That's what the override lets you do. The override lets you exceed the levy, the 2.5 levy.
But if the override does go through, that means that they can change it every year after that.
No, that's not correct.
That's
The Proposition 2.5 override is a one-time only effect. So it overrides that number, that 2.5% for 1 year, and then in FY27, we're back to 2.5. We can't go higher than 2.5. It's a state law. You cannot go 2.5. That's why the town needs to vote to approve an override to go above the 2.5 limit. If there was no over 2.5, the town, the tax, the selectman and the assessor could decide to raise taxes 5%. But they can't raise it more than 2.5% because of the Proposition 2.5.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Armstrong.
Jim Armstrong, 65 Richard Road. Just a historical fact. I was on the school committee back in the 90s, and back at that point, 74% of the school budget came from the state when they talked us into regionalizing as a school district. So yes, I'm talking almost 30 years ago. But that's when they talked us into regionalization. And as the chairman of the finance committee said, it's a lot lower than that now. And over the years, they told us it's going to start going up. This is a fact. Every so often, we have to go back to remember we used to get spoiled. We're not anymore, and we have to start paying our way. And that's really what it comes down to, is the state's not supporting us like they used to. So over the years, we've had to figure out a way to get there, and occasionally we have to do an override in order to get there. I just wanted to bring back some of the facts so that it makes it easier to follow.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Christine Walters, Squantum Avenue. It's kind of a generalized question. Why are the police and the fire and the school always combined? Why is one contingent on the other? If one person believes we should have more police and fire, but doesn't believe in, adding the school extra budget to it, or vice versa, why do they always seem to be contingent upon the other? Can it be separated?
Mr. Sullivan.
They are not contingent upon one another. They are sole independent departments. However, in an effort to apply this fairly, the town accountant and the finance committee applied, I believe it's a 5% reduction to all the major departments. So public safety took a 5% cut. The schools took a 5% cut. Town hall took a 5% cut. Culture and recreation took a 4 or 5% cut. So they are not dependent. We evenly applied percentage-wise as percentage of their budget.
But the override is contingent upon each other. So if you say yes to the override, you're saying yes to everyone equally.
Again,
but if you say no.
Again, the override is it's a method for overcoming a monetary threshold. It has nothing to do with the town departments. If this was a $3 million override because we wanted to bring on 10 new police officers, it would still just be an override. The override is just a general term for overcoming our budget restrictions. So this, again, we applied it evenly across the town hall departments. Some of the larger departments, I think the school is approximately 48% of the town's budget. So their number is a larger percent because 5% of that is a larger number. Second is public safety. 5% of that is what equates down to what we put out in the information. So they're not tied together.
Excuse me. So I think I understand what you're saying. I think you're asking why not separate.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because we have gotten some feedback on that, and we did look at that, as a board in terms of how to present it. And last year we actually did have an override just for the school budget. That did not go well, because what ended up happening was at town meeting, which is certainly people's prerogative, but some people got up and ended up eviscerating the town hall budget in order to fund the educational budget. So this year we said that did not go well last year, and that's why we had a couple of days when the dump was open, it was closed a few days, and we had to make various cuts, highway, all kinds of little haircuts here and there, nothing as bad as would be this year. So we did contemplate that. And so historically, if you look back, it hasn't always been bundled. It just depends on the circumstances. This year we had more than one department that really made a compelling argument, so it made sense to bundle it.
And in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding with the police and the fire is if you don't have enough police or fire, contingent upon your population, and you can lose funding, your homeowner's insurance can go up. There's all these things going around. So that's sort of my question to you, and you answered it, thank you. But not only can our property taxes go up, but if we don't get more police and fire, your house insurance, everything that's already gone up can go up again.
Yep.
That the town has no say in.
Yep.
Am I correct?
Yes. Yep.
And Mr. Sullivan.
And so, part of understanding this is that the school committee can reject our number. And if they reject our number, we have to pull that money from another town department. So without the override, again, we won't a collective override is the monetary number, right? If you look at the growth of Hanson, growth is flat in Hanson. Expenditures are up across every department. That's every department. Some are more than others, but there's been an increase over the last few years. The budget's increasing 8%, 9%, 10%. We can't raise taxes fast enough to keep up with that growth. So what this is an equalization of where we need to be for the next 3 to 5 years. So when we got the information from the reports that were given to us by an outside source, we needed about $3 to $5 million, in his opinion, to carry us out through the next 3 to 5 years. So that's why it's grouped together.
So as you're saying 3 to 5 years, just the one quick last question I have for it. You say 3 to 5 years. Is this a plan for 3 to 5 years for our taxes to go up that much?
No. So this is what I would look at is, this is one of the largest override we've ever requested. It's sort of resetting the baseline, right? For too many years, we were too far behind. DESE did some reappropriation where the method at which the school was appropriated switched, and it put Hanson in a significant hole. We overcame it with a small override and a lot of free cash, but it set us farther behind. We were no longer on the parallel, I'll say, growth path to our expenditures. So this is sort of a resetting of the number to get all the town departments the correct personnel that they want for the needs that we have, and to continue us on a path where we hopefully don't need another override 3 to 5 years from now, hopefully.
Thank you.
We'll go, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Kara Moser, 41 Hammond Road. I'm also a member of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee. It's a little bit funky, Sean, because we're having this two different votes on budgets, but I think the override is coming up in both of them. So I want to just make a couple of points, if it's okay, about the school budget, which, as many people have said, is in any community the largest budget line item, just the nature of education. I want to speak a little bit to some of the factors that are playing into why budget costs are increasing in our school district. I want to first say that this budget is a level services budget. The school committee, the school district is not asking to add anything to this budget that we currently have. So that's the first thing I want to make really clear. As a regional school district, the school district is responsible for employee benefits. And I know that Ms. Green touched on that. Those are embedded, we have over 600 employees in the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District who are eligible for employee benefits. We also, in addition to that, in education, there are legal requirements at the federal and the state level for certain things that we need to pay for. We don't have the option of cutting out of our budget or reducing our budget. One of those is special education services. Any student that comes into our district in need of special education needs to be serviced. That could happen within the district, or depending on their needs, could happen with increasing levels of intervention, including out-of-district placements. The cost for special ed services has increased exponentially over the past 5 years. The reimbursement that we get from the state has not increased exponentially over the last 5 years. Likewise, if students qualify or are selected to participate in a charter school or to participate in a vocational school, we do not have the option of not paying for those students to go there. The state does not reimburse us an equivalent amount. The cost that to send students to vocational schools in some cases is almost double what we pay per pupil within our district. Those students all deserve to be serviced, but those are significant costs that we do not get equitable state reimbursement for, but are mandated to us. So I just want to be really clear that there's a lot of things that are outside. It's not just trimming the fat, because there's not fat to be trimmed. A lot of this is stuff that's been mandated for us. So I'll leave it at that for that particular line item, but I'm going to hang out for the a few down. So
You can stand wherever you want. Yes, sir.
Hi. Steve Smith, 4 Monroe Street. I just had a quick question. I realize we're on Article 4, but we're all talking about the override anyway. What happens if we vote no on the override budget, which is the next article, and then at the actual elections we vote yes for the override? Does the money just go to free cash or something?
No.
Like what happens?
Mr. Sullivan.
No. So if it's voted no tonight and voted yes at the ballot, we have another option to have another town meeting and revote the override again. We would go again.
Follow-up question, if they continue to vote no on that, what happens to the money?
At that second time, so we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and we'll talk about that on the next one. But what I'm saying is we're spending a significant amount of free cash in the rest of the budget. So if you look right now, what we talked about previously to this, there was about $2.5 million in free cash. If we pass all the articles in here, we'll be down to $344,000 of free cash. So that's still with leaving us a significant hole. So we've got to be careful about that as we go forward as well.
Yeah, and that was just a leading question to make a point. Is there any purpose to voting no on 6 tonight? Because it sounds like the actual vote is the one that takes place at the ballot. Whether we vote no or yes on 6 tonight, either way, the ballot decides whether that. And then if it's no, we're coming back here anyway to vote again.
Yeah, if I may, if that's exactly what happened last year. We voted the budget with the override numbers. When that didn't win at the ballot box, we had to come back and have another town meeting to set the budget with the money that we did have. So the entire reason we're doing 5 and 6 is, with 6 contingent on what happens on May 17th, is to avoid having a second town meeting.
Yeah, and that's basically where I'm going with this. I'm asking rhetorical questions that I already know. The reason I'm asking that is it seems like it's pointless to vote no on the override thing tonight. Even if you're very, very against the override, you still should vote yes on 6, because the actual vote that kills the override is at the ballot, not tonight. All you're doing by voting no on 6 tonight is making it so that if they vote yes on the 17th, we all got to come back here again. That you don't kill the vote, you don't kill the override by voting no tonight.
Ms. Kemet.
We have had people make the argument that ultimately it should be all the voters at the ballot that make that decision.
I agree.
So, but to answer your question, as far as if it fails tonight, but it passes at the ballot, yes, technically we could hold another town meeting, but quite honestly, we're still going to have the dilemma of the school budget not being funded. And ultimately, that means that it will end up going to the school committee to make a determination about whether they're going to lower the budget or whether they will have, seek the same assessment that they sought before, and then they'll come back to us, in which case, unless they lower it, which would be pretty draconian to lower it by 900 and something thousand. And again, I'm only factoring in Hanson, not Whitman. I don't know what's going to happen there. It's fairly likely that it will come back, and in any event would end up having another town meeting.
Yeah, and that's basically where I was getting at with that is it seems like if we were to vote no on 6 tonight and then yes at the ballot, the school committee is not going to have a whole lot of incentive to take our lower budget when they know we have the money now that we voted yes at the ballot. So it seems like we'd just be coming back here again. So that's all I was trying to get at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And we'll come over to Mr. Young after this.
Hi, Mike DiCarlo, 531 Indian Head Street. Mr. Moderator, I would love to submit a motion to separate the school district with the first responders on Article 6 to separate them to 2 separate votings for tonight's hearing.
What did he say?
Yeah. One moment, please. Yeah, I mean, first off, that motion would be properly made when we're considering Article 6.
Okay.
And the second part of it is that the question is already on the ballot. The ballots are already printed for May 17th. I don't see how we can have a new override scheme in place for the townwide election.
That's
But
correct.
if you could please consider that. Any amendments should be made in writing to the clerk's desk, right down here in front, but hold off until Article 6.
Okay.
Mr. Young.
Bruce Young, 594 Indian Head Street. Mr. Moderator, can we do something and stick to the lines, discussion on the lines that we're on, rather than jumping back to the schools? I mean, this would go go much smoother. I mean, that's just a suggestion, okay?
Thank you. Well, I was going to say, I mean, I allowed this debate because line 57, which is what we're discussing, is the operating assessment for Whitman Hanson School. And in my mind, maybe this doesn't work out, but I'm hoping that the debate that we're having doesn't need to be replicated during Article 6. It's a very good debate, but I don't want it to go on all night either. But yes, Mr. Young.
Okay. I was the one who held the line on the transfer station. So I'd first like to talk about that.
Oh, we're not on it quite yet, Bruce.
Yeah, well, I'll just stay here then, but there's some misinformation going around. If we vote no on Article 6, okay, it renders the ballot question moot, okay? That ballot question is on the ballot only because the town clerk has to print those ballots ahead of the town meeting.
And actually, it's been explained to me by town council, and hopefully we don't have to bring her up, but Article 6 is a contingency budget.
Yes, correct.
If and only if the override is voted for on May 17th. It will have no effect if the override is defeated. Article 6 will have no legal effect.
Correct.
And so we'll bear that in mind.
Just wanted to make that clear,
Yes.
because the chairman of the finance committee seemed to think that we can vote on that ballot question and then come back, but that renders the ballot question moot if Article 6 fails.
That's right.
Yes,
No,
renders the ballot question moot.
It doesn't.
Oh,
It doesn't.
town council.
So the timing of the appropriation versus the ballot measure is irrelevant.
Correct.
So Mr. Sullivan was 100% accurate that if this, you need 2 votes. When those 2 votes
right.
happen, if you want an override, you need 2 votes. The
That's correct.
appropriation, which is at town meeting, and then the ballot vote.
That's a contingency override. I'm well aware of that.
So be quiet.
Please, Ms. Federoff.
So if it fails tonight and passes at the ballot, Mr. Sullivan is correct that you can have another town meeting.
That's right.
And if it passes at that town meeting, so then
That's
you have
right.
2 yes votes,
That's
then the override is successful.
That's right.
But the timing is irrelevant. You can have it before or after. I had a town where it actually, strangely enough, usually it passes at town meeting and fails at the ballot, but it passed, failed at town meeting, failed at the ballot. I mean, whatever. They did a second ballot vote. That was the point. You just need 2. And the timing is irrelevant. So Mr. Sullivan is absolutely right that if it passes at the ballot, but it fails here tonight, you could call a special town meeting, and then the town meeting members can come and vote again and voice their opinion.
I totally disagree, but that's irrelevant right now. Totally disagree with you.
Well, and you can have your opinion, but that's the town council's opinion.
Well, it's wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
Sorry to say.
It's not.
Mr. Pasquegan.
Yes, the town council and Mr. Sullivan are both correct. If we vote it down tonight, we can still vote yes at the ballot, and then another town meeting is called, at which we need to make sure that we vote yes to fund the override. By the way, my name is Kathy DePasqua Egan, 63 Montponset Street.
Yes, you can see here for your
I
yes or
haven't
no.
recognized you, Mr. Young.
Right, correct.
Mr. Young, do you have any comments on line 57?
We're going to talk on the transfer station.
Okay, you hang out then. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's John Chagru, 120 Elm Street. I've heard this 3 million number thrown around, and I actually went to the hansonbudget.com and I calculated, I think the average house in Hanson's around $550,000-ish. And just to make a round number, I put in 500,000. It's just, if everyone could confirm if it's correct, the calculator spit out $57 a month. I just want to super confirm that would be just for 12 months, and that would not be going any further. A tax of $57 a month for a $500,000 town assessment home.
Mr. Sullivan.
A house valued at $500,000 would see an increase of $720,000. I'm sorry. Getting ahead.
Hold on.
Would see an increase in their annual tax bill of $720, which is about $60 a month.
Okay, so again, roughly $60 a month
It's
for
permanent.
12 months.
Permanent.
Permanent, okay.
Permanently.
All right, okay. So I'm just kind of airing my opinion. $60 a month. I know everyone has different budgets and different lifestyles and everything, but to ensure that we don't have severe deficits elsewhere, I think $60 is money well spent.
And I know we're going to do the vote on the line at this point. I know some people think I move a little slowly, but this is the issue of the night, isn't it? It's why we're having it at the high school. So all those in favor of line 57 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Line 57 is accepted. Line 60, South Shore Regional Tech. Any questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, sorry. Kara Moser, 41 Hammond Road. Again, I actually held 60 and 61 for the same reasons. I'm curious, we're obviously the bulk of our student population is part of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. We are, however, members of South Shore Regional Tech District as well as Norfolk Aggie as a regional vocational district. I'm just curious why there are no contingency reductions for either of those line items when there is for the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District budget.
Mr. Sullivan?
When we looked at those budgets, those are more of a cost that's passed down to us for the, I think, slim amount of students that attend. So that number for, I don't know the exact number of students who attend South Shore Votech. I think Norfolk Bristol Aggie is maybe 3 or 4. So it's more of a passed along I mean, we could trim $1,000 off it, but is that really moving the needle?
Well, is $1,000 5% of 1 million?
We passed it, the 5% across the education budget line, across the entire budget line.
But the 940 is, okay. I think that it goes back to kind of the
The
appropriating
Whitman Hanson
authority as
Regional
well.
School District budget is over 10 times the amount that we spend on Norfolk Aggie and South Shore Votech. So you're talking about peanuts compared to millions of dollars. So that's why we only reduced Whitman Hanson. So if we want to play a semantics game, I'll
not
play it all
playing-
night.
I'm not looking to play games. I'm asking a question.
No, hold on. One at a time, please. Yes, ma'am. No, yep.
Me? No, I was asking, I'm not looking to be belligerent. I'm asking a question why it's from one line item and not the other two. But if that's his answer, then that's his answer. I'm asking for clarification. I'm not playing any games. I'm here to try to support this community. That's why I'm here, as I think you are too. So.
All right. So we'll take the vote on line 60. All those in favor of line 60 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 60 is adopted, or is accepted. Line 61, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of line 61 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 61 is accepted. The next line that was held is line 68, solid waste expenses. Mr. Young.
Yeah, I just have one question. Maybe the town accountant can answer the question, hopefully, or somebody from the Board of Health. We used to have an enterprise account for this fund that involved the generation of revenue from the sale of the orange trash bags and our yearly sticker permits for your car to get into the transfer station, and all the other revenues generated by the transfer station went to basically right into the transfer station to reduce the cost. Now all of that money is going into the town's general cash account to pay the bills that come up for payment. So, and I wanted to ask the town accountant if he knew what the estimated receipts for all of those things were for the transfer station for fiscal 2026.
The town accountant.
Yes, since it's not an enterprise fund, there's $230,000 estimated from the solid waste transfer station fees that are going against the operating budget. So that's it. So we're counting on $230,000 revenue from the transfer station to fund the general fund budget.
Really, in 2023, it was $250,000, and I know the cost went up on the bags. There's more people that are members of the transfer station now, and the cost went up on the stickers. So how could it be less than 2023?
I think you're going to maybe talk to the department. I just know, like, anecdotally, I think there was one year where they charged stickers, and it was a 2-year sticker or something like that. Yeah. But I'm not really sure exactly. You'd have to talk to the department about the actual semantics.
I thought they would have that figure tonight. I was told they would have it tonight.
So, that's what we're estimating. We're estimating $230,000 for next year on our budget.
Really?
We have a representative of the Board of Health. Yes, sir.
Hi there, Pete Butler from the Board of Health, and I live at 36 Fairwood Drive. I don't know how the revenue from the transfer station tickets and bags balances against the cost of or how it's contributed to any general fund, but I do know that we managed scheduled changes to the stickers and the bags at a slower rate to not impact residents all at once. So to describe in detail, we had an annual 2-year sticker for $100, and we moved it to a 1-year sticker for $50. And now we're increasing yearly, incrementally. I think we're at $65 now, and we're planning to move to $83 next. to bring us from a deficit budget into the black. That's the information that I have to share with the town today.
Mr. Young.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to point out, because there's been some confusion on this, if you vote the $3 million override, that stays in the tax levy forever. And it goes up along with everything else that's in your tax levy and your tax bill, by 2.5% compounded annually. So, when you vote an override, it's just not for 1 year. The override stays in the tax levy and your tax bill forever. So that $3 million, if you vote it, stays there forever, just like the $1.85 million that we voted in fiscal 2022 is still there in your tax bill forever.
Yeah, and I consider that an argument that does not need to be made later on.
That's not an argument, that's a fact.
Thank you. So, any other questions or concerns on line 68? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting line 68 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 68 is accepted. Line 73, Council on Aging expenses.
Mr. Moderator, I made a mistake. I wanted to hold line 72. It's right here.
Oh,
I'm right here.
I'm hearing this voice.
It's here. It's right here. I wanted to hold line 72. I slipped. My eye slipped. I meant to do these salaries, obviously, because it's an $8,000 reduction.
Okay, so all those in favor of reopening line 72 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 72.
I want to amend that to the operational budget for fiscal year 2026 to 159,905, which is what we had approved at the select board meeting. I don't think we should be cutting that budget on such a small budget for a growing population of people in this town. We should not be disdaining the seniors. I can't go with that. I had to say this.
And
second,
if you could make it's been seconded, if you could write it and give it to the clerk, please. And will you be taking that from free cash? So that amount increasing line 72 to 159,905 would come from free cash. Any other questions or comments? Oh, it was seconded by Ms. Kemet. Seeing none. All those in favor of Ms. Rain's amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The number is amended. So, all those in favor of accepting line 72 as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 72 is amended and accepted. Line 73, I take it there's no hold now? No hold on line 73. All those in favor of accepting line 73 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 73 is accepted. Line 82, Parks and Fields expenses. Ms. Kemet.
Yes, I had asked to have that held, and I've got an amendment here. We had Adam Valkovic come to the select board meeting. Unfortunately, it was after everything had been printed and we had voted, explaining to us that we just spent a large dollar amount, I think over $500,000, in getting the middle school field up to shape and up to snuff, and that not funding this would mean that new investment would already go downhill immediately. So my amendment is basically stating whether the override passes or not, that we need to give Parks and Fields $40,000 for that, and it would come from free cash.
Have you given the amendment to the clerk?
No, I have it right here.
Any other questions or concerns about this amendment? Oh, and we have a second? Okay, Mr. Hayes. It's coming from Laura and seconded by, from free cash. Any questions or concerns on the amendment? All those in favor of Ms. Kemet's amendment to increase the line 82 from $24,000 to $40,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Line 82 is amended. All those in favor of line 82 as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Line 82 as amended is accepted. And that are all the holds that we had for the lines. So, once again, we've had a good debate kind of interspersed with the lines. It's fine. It's better to work it out that way, I think. So, once again, for Article 5, is there a question? You'll have to come to a microphone, ma'am.
Line 80.
Oh, line 80's already been accepted.
It's too late to hold it?
It's already been accepted. So, now we're voting on the entire line, the entire budget in the column as amended, Finance Committee without override. So this is for Article 5. All those in favor of Article 5 as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 5 is adopted. Yes. Yes. Oh, I did. I said that column as amended. Thanks for checking on me, though. Yes, that's right. All righty, so Article 5 has been adopted. We'll now move to Article 6. I move the town vote to raise and appropriate an additional $3 million from taxation to fund various town departments in the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District assessment in the fiscal year 2026, provided, however, that the amount raised and appropriated hereunder shall be expressly contingent upon approval by the voters in an election of a so-called 2.5 override question in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 59, Section 21C(G) of the general laws. Seconded, the explanation is this article refers to the fiscal year 2026 annual budget line that would be increased to a Town of Hanson operational budget and Whitman-Hanson Regional School District operational assessment override is passed at the May 2025 annual town election. The override breaks down equally $1,477,627 for the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District assessment, $344,000 to add 4 additional firefighters, paramedics to the fire department, and $1,178,373 for Town of Hanson operational government services. Do I have, it's already been seconded. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to read off, we're going to redo this exercise, hopefully with a lot less debate because we've gotten it all out of our systems. But what we're going to be, I'm going to read the line and we're going to be looking at Finance Committee with override recommends. That column. And you can see the difference, so you don't have to do the math, in the reductions column. Except in this case, it's not a reduction, it's an addition to the budget we just passed. So please shout out hold if you want to hold. Line 1, accepted. Line 2, accepted. Line 3, accepted. Line 4, accepted. Line 5, accepted. Line 6, accepted. Line 7, accepted. Line 8, accepted. Line 9, accepted. Line 10, accepted. Line 11, accepted. Line 12, accepted. Line 13, accepted. Line 14, accepted. Line 15, accepted. Line 16, accepted. Line 17, accepted. Line 18, accepted. Line 19, accepted. Line 20, accepted. Line 21, accepted. Line 22, accepted. Line 23, accepted. Line 24, accepted. Line 25, accepted. Line 26, accepted. Line 28, line 27, accepted. Line 28, accepted. Line 29, accepted. Line 30, accepted. Line 31, accepted. Line 32, accepted. Line 33, accepted. Line 34, accepted. Line 35, accepted. Line 36, accepted. Line 37, accepted. Line 38, accepted. Line 39, accepted. Line 40, accepted. Line 41, again, the funding for that would be $254,020 from taxation, $50,000 from ambulance receipt fund, for a total of $304,020. Accepted. Line 42, accepted. Line 43, accepted. Line 44, accepted. Line 45, accepted. Line 46, accepted. Line 47, accepted. Line 48, accepted. Line 49, accepted. Line 50, accepted. Line 51, accepted. Line 52, accepted. Line 53, accepted. Line 54, accepted. Line 55, accepted. Line 56, accepted. Line 57, accepted. Line 58, accepted. Line 59, accepted. Line 60, accepted. Line 61, accepted. Line 62, accepted. Line 63, accepted. Line 64, accepted. Line 65, accepted. Line 66, accepted. Line 67, accepted. Line 68, accepted. Line 69, accepted. Line 70, accepted. Line 71, accepted. Line 72, accepted. Line 73, accepted. Line 74, accepted. Line 75, accepted. Line 76, accepted. Line 77, accepted. Line 78, accepted. Line 80, accepted. Line 81, accepted. Line 82, accepted. Line 83, accepted. Line 84, accepted. Line 85, accepted. Line 86, accepted. Line 87, accepted. Line 88, accepted. Line 89, accepted. Line 90, accepted. Line 91, accepted. Line 92, accepted. Line 93, accepted. So, I did it musically. Thank you for the applause. I've been training my whole life for that. All right. Now we've accepted all of Article 6 as printed in the warrant. Do we have any discussion generally on Article 6? Yes, sir.
Hi, Mike DiCarlo again. I just have a couple questions for the Chief of Police and Chief of Fire if they are in this building. Now, looking at the presentation that we had earlier on Article 6, it's talking about eliminating the staff members of the departments. How many members do you have per shift working in the department?
Chief of Police.
Just to clarify, you want to know how many are working each shift?
Correct.
It's as little as 3 and as many as 5.
Okay.
Unless there's a storm and you can have 10, because I run out of cruisers and I can't put them out on the road anymore.
Okay. And Chief?
Good evening, Rob O'Brien, Fire Chief. We run 4 a shift, 1 lieutenant and 3 firefighter paramedics.
Okay, and one more question for you. As of the start of this year, we're in May now. How many times have you had to call off-duty firefighters to help with calls and cover stations?
Ooh, that happens daily. Right now, it happens more than 50% of the time, because more than 50% of the time right now we're doing simultaneous runs. So every time we have to do simultaneous runs, or if the ambulance has to transport with 3, we're recalling people.
Okay. And one more question for you, Mr. Moderator. If this meeting and the election goes sideways and there's a split vote, can I move a proposal then to the next special town meeting to split the law enforcement and the high schools in 2 separate article votings then?
Yeah, and that's a decision that's really made by the Finance Committee when they're preparing the budget, and the Select Board when they're preparing the articles. So really, I would encourage anyone to attend those meetings well in advance of town meeting, as they're trying to decide how exactly to put this forward.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns on Article 6? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 6 as accepted in the Finance Committee with override column, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The chair is in doubt. So everyone who votes yes, if you could please hold your card that you received high until you have been counted by the tellers. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. 41. $135.
58.
58. Now, all those opposed, please raise your blue card and keep it up until you've been counted. That's a visitor section. Voters don't count. You have to sit and be ready. That's why I did you first vote. That's the visitor section right here. If you're a visitor, don't, it hits me, you can't come to vote right now. You gotta sit in a voter section. The reason is that's the visitors section, and technically you're not allowed to vote, but only voters have a blue card.
$62.
62.
20.
20. 36. Quick math. By a vote of 234 to 118, Article 6 is adopted. Article 7. I move the town vote to adopt the capital improvement matrix as presented by the Capital Improvement Committee as shown in the informational warrant, and to transfer from free cash the sums of money for the following capital improvement projects as specified in the informational warrant. Now I'm going to read each line, and if you would like to hold it, please. Oh, do we have a second? Seconded. Oh, I was going to read the lines first, but no, that's all right. You're doing great work down there. Line 1. Line 2. Line 2 is held. Line 3. Line 3 is held. Line 4. Line 4 is held. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. The explanation, this is the annual article which approves the capital improvement matrix for the next fiscal year. Further, this article appropriates funds for the capital improvement expenditures. Mr. Sullivan.
I'm speaking to this article and every article going forward that you see the Finance Committee did not recommend. If it called for a use of free cash that was something outside of an emergent repair or a safety issue, the Finance Committee by and large voted not to recommend. You may ask why we did this. We did this because as of right now, if you were to vote all these articles and approve all the spending of this free cash, after this meeting, it would leave us right now with $320,000 in free cash. If the override fails at the ballot and the school committee turns back our recommended reduction in their assessment, we would not have enough money to cover the difference. We would need about $600,000 in additional cuts from Town Hall. I would ask that you pass over, do not approve, push these off till the October special town meeting. They don't need to go away. We just need to hold off on these. A lot of these, especially some of these capital items, they can wait till the fall. We need a reserve to prepare for the worst case scenario. Right now, if we approve everything as is with free cash, we will not have enough if the override fails at the ballot and Whitman Hanson rejects our lowering of their assessment. So that's why you're going to see the Finance Committee did not recommend a lot of these articles that spend free cash. Not because we don't think they're worthwhile projects, not because we don't think they're valid projects in the fall, but for this moment in time, we will not have the money.
Thank you. So, any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Corinne Cavato, Vice Chair of Capital Improvement Committee, Winslow Drive. I'm calling on the Highway Supervisor to explain what he's looking for.
Do we have the Highway Supervisor here?
It's right over.
Oh, here it is. There he is.
How are you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm over here.
Yes, sir, you're right.
How are you? My name's Richard Jasmine. I'm the highway director. So number two, the rubber wheeled excavator. Everything that I'm asking for right now is to become more self-sufficient. Right now, we subcontract everything we need to do out, which costs an incredible amount of money. So the rubber wheeled excavator would take the place of our trackless machine, which will flail mow in the summer, as well as we are now trying to improve our drainage systems. So it'll take that place. The skid steer loader, multi-purpose, it'll decrease our footprint in the roadways, so you're not trying to get around us while we're doing this new work. Skid steers, again, multiverse. One of the big items that we're going to get with that would be a snow pusher. This will eliminate 2 contracted snowplow drivers for all municipal buildings, decreasing our cost. And then I don't know about the LED information board.
Does the select board have any comments on the LED board?
Ms. Green can.
Ms. Green.
So the LED signage board would be for the front of Town Hall. As many of you know, when you drive by Town Hall, we have the old sign out there that has the letters that we can only advertise or provide communication on one event at a time. So the LED sign is going to be similar to what is at the water department. We can rotate different communications regarding events, schedules, a number of information. What we cannot do now, the sign that we have now doesn't even have a light on it. So the new LED sign will have 2 sides that people can see from both of side 58, and will have a lot of information on it that we cannot put on right now. Right now, we just have letters that we put in and can only put one event or one communication at a time.
Any other questions or concerns? Yes, sir.
Dana Willis, 388 McQuon Street. I have a question. How come we haven't become a DPW? Now, I do work for the town. I'm actually the town welder. But where they're talking about buying an excavator and a skid steer and cutting down time, there's 2 backhoes that sit at the water department during a snowstorm that probably don't do anything. Well, we're not putting a town employee into that, push snow, instead of hiring a contractor.
It's a valid argument, sir, but it's out of the scope of this article. I would highly encourage you to talk to the select board and the finance committee about that.
May I just, very quickly, I know it isn't totally on topic, but Mr. Willis, I will tell you that we have thought about this, we've talked about it. It's a bit more complicated than it might seem like it would be if we're going to include water and what have you, but we would love to talk more to you about it.
I know the towns that have gone to a DPW, everybody works together, and there's more equipment to share between all the different departments.
They do unofficially share equipment, but I hear what you're saying. There's definitely skills of economy. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns about Article 7? Yes, sir.
Dan McDonough, 27 Carriage Road. This might also be off topic, but just a recommendation on the meeting, how it's written. You see on page 11, it says recommended 5-0. And then at the bottom it says not recommended 5-0. If we could just be in continuity with a win-loss record, I'd rather have it say 0/5. I think that's just confusing. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sure the select board will take that up. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Means. I live at 342 South Street. And I just want to know that for every one of these vehicles or, the salt says branded, do you have staff? And I'm talking to the highway director, wherever he went. Do you have staff that is trained in this?
The highway supervisor.
So yes, we have staff. So if we get the 2 salt sand spreaders, I have bodies that will go in those larger
What about the rubber-wheeled excavator?
Correct. Yep.
You
So-
have staff currently that is trained in this?
Yes. Yep. I have my head equipment operator who has a 2-way hoisting license that will be able to hop in seat as soon as we get it.
Right away, right when you get it. All right, at $148,000, can you not work with the equipment that you have today, knowing knowing how much money the town does not have to give?
Yeah.
I mean, I look at these numbers and I feel like it's a bit greedy, because I know there's equipment there that can be used.
Right.
The highway supervisor.
Sorry. So, yeah, we currently don't have any digging machines at all. We have one front end loader, which is great, but in order for us to, save the town money in the long run by doing our own drain lines and trenching, we need this machine. Other than that, sorry.
But how much are you spending for subcontracting out in a year?
So this year alone, we got $50,000 to replace some drains. That $50,000 got us about 19 drain lines. We have 1,372 in town. If we have a lot fail at once, we don't have the money to
Is there a
contract.
lot? Is there a lot failing at once? Is there a lot meant to fail, like in the future, next 5 years?
And these are all good questions, but I'd rather not have a dialogue going on.
I'm just saying, I'm recommending voting nay on this.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The nays have it. Article 7 is not adopted. Article 8. I move the town vote to transfer $200,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund. Seconded. Explanation. These funds will be used to increase the stabilization fund. The stabilization fund is a mechanism for setting aside money either for unforeseen needs or for capital projects, and is intended to equalize the effect of the capital expenditures over time. The town's target has been to maintain close to 5%, which is the industry standard minimum amount for stabilization funds as recommended by our auditors, and will help to maintain a positive bond rating for future borrowing purposes. Mr. Sullivan.
The Finance Committee recommended this article and expenditure of free cash. Right now, we're sitting at 3.9%, where the industry standard is 5 to 7. So this will bring us back to within the range acceptable by DLS and most borrowing agencies.
And once again, DLS is the Division of Local Services, which is part of the Department of Revenue. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 8 is adopted. What modification? All right. Do we have something written for the... So we have a motion to reconsider. Ms. Kemet?
I know that we are in fiscal constraints, and certainly some of the items in Article 7 are things that, as Mr. Sullivan suggested, we could defer until October. But one of the things that we cannot, and it is rather desperate need, and we had the highway director speak to us at a couple of meetings about it, is the item that is the number one item on the list, which is the salt sand spreader, and he needs to order that before the winter season. So if we wait until October to put that on the warrant, that's going to put him behind behind the 8 ball.
Okay, so if you could make a motion to reconsider, please.
So my motion is to reconsider and to strike all but the line 1 of the capital improvement.
So your motion actually is to reconsider Article 7, strike lines 2 through 4, and only consider line 1.
Correct.
It's seconded. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 7 for that purpose signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 will be reconsidered. The amendment is to only have line 1, $53,000 for a salt sand spreader for the highway department. All those in favor of Article 7 as amended signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 as amended is adopted. Article 8 has been adopted. Article 9. I move the town vote to appropriate or reserve from fiscal year 2026 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal year 2026, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Seconded. And the explanation. This article ensures that Hanson's community preservation accounts are compliant with the Community Preservation Act, which requires that a certain portion of the CPA funds be set aside for open space projects, community housing projects, historical projects, and recreation projects. In addition, it sets aside money for the administrative expenses of the Community Preservation Committee. Any questions or comments on Article 9? Pardon me. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 9 is adopted. Article 10. I move the town vote to amend the wage and personnel bylaws, Article 2-12, classification and compensation, by deleting sections 11A to 11E in their entirety and inserting the new sections 11A to 11E as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded. The changes to the compensation plan are in bold, italicized text. Other updates include adjustment of salary ranges to reflect market demand. Any questions or comments on Article 10? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 10 is adopted. Article 11. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer $4,950 from the Community Preservation Open Space Reserve and $3,050 from the undesignated Community Preservation Fund for a total of $8,000 to fund construction of an accessible parking area and grading at the McQuon Street side of the Sleeper Conservation Area, including expenses related thereto. Seconded. It is proposed that a parking area for 2 to 3 vehicles be built where the trail begins into the sleeper parcel at the end of the driveway from McQuon Street. The Wildlands Trust, which holds the conservation restriction on the property, wants this parking for handicapped persons. In addition, the trail itself would be regraded to permit handicapped access to the kiosk area some distance down the trail from the parking area. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 11 is adopted. Article 12, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate the sums of money printed in the informational warrant to operate Camp Kewaunee during fiscal year 2026 under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded, this is a level-funded budget. This budget is This budget is comprised of anticipated revenues, program receipts, and a transfer of $79,000 from Camp Kewaunee free cash. This budget represents that which is necessary to run and operate Camp Kewaunee in Cranberry Cove for fiscal year 2026. Any questions or comments? Mr. Sullivan.
Just a point in the explanation. There is no such thing as Camp Kewaunee free cash.
Noted. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Dory Jamison, 15 Andrew Ford Way, Abington. I'd like to briefly introduce myself to town meeting. I'm a lifelong resident of Abington, and I worked for the town of Abington for 22 years, so I'm an Abingtonian, right? But I had the pleasure of working at Camp Kewaunee for the past 5 years, and being in this community for that short time, I'm a Hansonite. So I would just like to bring your attention to this budget and explain what we have before us. So this budget is an enterprise fund, which means that it is funded strictly on the revenues generated from Camp Kewaunee, not tax dollars. So typically, when we have a gap between anticipated revenues and the amount that we need to fund our budget at, we use our retained earnings, which is our free cash. However, this year, the Division of Local Services advised us not to use our retained earnings, to keep it intact. They wanted to keep it as a cushion for this fiscal year, 2025, in case there's any gaps between anticipated revenue and actual revenue. So we have the funds, but we're unable to use it at this time. That is why we requested the funds to come out of free cash to make our budget. And I did also want to mention that in the budget, some of these line items do revert back to the general fund. For instance, the health insurance, as is with a enterprise fund, the health insurance, Medicare of our employees, the indirect expenses, the accounting. This is new, but very understandable. The use of the accounting office, 6,900, because they're awesome and very helpful, and the audit. That's 5% of their budget. The audit is 2% of the audit cost, 800. And the use of the Treasurer Collector's Office, because they are awesome and very helpful, 13,800. And we also fund our part of the property and liability insurance. So in total, 106,000 does go back to the general fund, just for your aware, for informational purposes only. So I would ask that you support this budget as recommended by the Division of Local Services. Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan.
After consultation with the town accountant, there is not a reserve amount of money that is set aside for this enterprise. The money you have is the money you have, and that right now is $227,000. There's no extra money. What you're asking for is a $79,000 from free cash. So
Correct.
It's not really what it is. You're operating at a deficit, like the town. So you're asking to borrow this money from the town to cover your deficit.
Yeah, that's right.
If I could just have the town accountant speak next, and then we'll give you another one.
Okay. All right. Eric Kinshirf, town accountant. Basically, what happened is in FY23, there was like $350,000 in revenue that came in. So when they did the FY24 budget, they based it on $350,000. We went to set the tax rate, and they said, all right, here's our budget, $350,000, because that's what we got in 23. Unfortunately, in FY24, we only received $227,000. So the DLS said, well, time out. Why are you estimating $350,000 when you only collected $227,000? So in order to get the tax bills out, I had to send a letter. There's $141,000 in retained earnings to say, I'm going to recommend town meeting doesn't appropriate any retained earnings just in case there's a revenue shortfall this year. So that's basically what happened. So it relied on a big revenue number. So we do have certified retained earnings, but we cannot spend it because we needed to promise that we wouldn't to cover a potential revenue deficit. And I don't think we're going to collect the full $350 this year. We might collect like $240 or whatever, but I do think at the end of this year, we might have some retained earnings we could appropriate in the fall, but I'm not sure. We'll just see how it all plays out.
Right.
So that's what happened. The crux of the problem is that the budget in FY24 was based upon FY23 revenues, which was $350,000. We only collected $227,000, and hence there's like a little structural deficit going on
Right.
there.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, you.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah, Mr. Grimshift, that's exactly correct. But you just said it a lot better than I did.
All right. Any other questions or comments on Article 12? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 12 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The chair is in doubt. So all those in favor of Article 12, please hold up your card. Thank you.
Thank you.
12?
What happened to the crowd?
$68. 68.
22. 2-2.
22. All those opposed to Article 12 signify by holding up your card now. Thank you.
$29.
29. $57.
29.
29. So, 16 carried. $115. Okay, 102 to 115, Article 12 is not adopted. Oh. Okay. Yes, sir. And this,
1 minute.
oh, yeah, that's what this quick conversation has been. It's a great observation by you. As a point of order, at that point, we need to revote Article 12 with different numbers. So Ms. Kemet is going to make the motion to reconsider.
Yes, I make a motion to reconsider Article 12.
Do we have a second? It's seconded. Okay, Ms. Kemet, how do you want to reconsider?
Yes, I'd like to reconsider that, removing the budget subsidy of $79,000.
But otherwise having the budget as printed in the warrant?
Yes. Yep.
Seconded? Second. All those in favor of an amended Article 12 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 12, as amended, is adopted. Article 13. I move the town vote to raise and appropriate the sums of money printed in the informational warrant to operate the water department during fiscal year 2026. It's been seconded. I should note, while I'm making this motion, that the numbers have been updated and amended by the water department from what is printed in the informational warrant. So I'm going to go through each one and tell you the new number, all right? This is part of the motion. Estimated revenues, user fees, original article, $1,846,080. The amendment is $2,081,191. There is no other departmental revenue. Budget, direct salaries, $653,155 is the number in your warrant. That number should be $653,155. $198,086. Operating expenses. The printed warrant says $578,025. The actual number is $584,400. Debt and interest is the same, $405,300. Health insurance, printed in the warrant is $148,700. The actual number is $176,910. Medicare, printed in the warrant is $10,700. The actual number is $24,195. Pensions, there is nothing listed under the original article, but the number should be $142,100. So for direct expenses, the original article lists $1,795,880, and the amended number that we're voting on is $2,030,991. The indirect expenses, accounting, audit, treasurer, collector, are all the same as your printed warrant, $50,200. So the total expenses as printed is $1,846,080. The actual number is $2,081,191, which, if I'm not incorrect, matches their user fees. So, any questions or concerns about Article 13? Oh, now that I've read the article, do we have a second? Seconded. The explanation, this is a level-funded budget. This budget is comprised of anticipated revenues, program receipts. This budget represents that which is necessary to run and operate the water department for fiscal year 2026. Any questions or concerns? Mr. Hayes. What does the Finance Committee have to say about the new number? Do we have any comment from the Finance Committee?
We look at the water department as being self-sufficient and self-sustaining. They spend their money for water-related upgrades to the system, equipment, towers, system maintenance. So we voted to recommend.
Mr. Tuffa.
Yeah, I have a question about the indirect expenses, the accounting, the auditing, and the treasurer collector. Are those just apportioned numbers? In other words, we're still going to pay the auditor, the accountant, and the treasurer collector regardless of this department.
We'll have the town accountant speak to that.
Okay, Eric Hinchcliffe, Town Accountant. So the total amount that you pay for the accounting department, audit department, or treasurer collector does not change. But what this vote allows us to do is take some water receipts totaling $50,200 to help support the general fund budget. So that helps offset the general fund expenses.
So you're taking money from the water enterprise fund to the general budget?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question.
If you could just state your name and your...
Oh, Steve at 391 Franklin Street.
Thank you.
So we learned that the highway department, or I think it was the LED sign, I want to understand why the water department needs a LED sign and we still have brown water. They could spend that $40,000 to clean up our water versus having a sign that says, Happy Holidays, pay your water bill. You know, the old wooden sign was just fine with us.
Do we have anybody from the water department that would like to speak to that? It's outside the scope. I agree. All right. Fair. The point of order is accepted. That's outside the scope. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 13 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 13 is adopted. Article 14, I move the town vote to transfer $275,000 from free cash for legal fees associated with the MBTA Communities District statute. Seconded. The town will be party to legal proceedings associated with the MBTA Communities Direct statute and must have funds available to pay legal fees. Ms. Kemen.
Yep, so you'll notice that the Finance Committee voted not to recommend, and the Select Board voted to recommend. And I don't want to speak for the Finance Committee, but I think it comes down to that money coming from free cash. We don't have a choice about whether we defend ourselves. We're doing the will of the citizens, which folks didn't want to adopt MBTA community, which is fine. And we've got several different things that irons in the fire, if you will, trying to fight that, including a couple of lawsuits, one for an unfunded mandate that we're currently in court about, and based on this an opinion that the state auditor had given to a different town. But we know that it's just a matter of time, and we don't know when, but that they will be suing the town for non-compliance. We're technically compliant until July 1st, but at that point, we know that they will be coming for all of the towns that aren't compliant. So since it is the will of the people that we not adopt the MBTA Communities Act, we have to prepare to defend ourselves. And we arrived at this dollar amount by doing, it's not an exact science, but by going around and asking what people were paying to defend. We wouldn't be able to use our regular counsel for this. This would rise to the level of special counsel. And the last time that we had to hire special counsel, it was $900 an hour. This is outside of the expertise of our regular town council. So I just thought I'd give a little bit of a narrative on that so that people understood where we were coming from.
Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. So again, we looked at this as this is a significant amount of free cash. We are in compliance until July. So even if we have to start fighting it in July, it leaves us through 4 months until special town meeting in October, where we could raise the funds from free cash, hopefully.
Ms. Santalucia.
Hi, Teresa Santalucia, 517 West Washington Street. Laura, you sort of touched on this, but I would like to know if the funds are used purely as a defense fund, or if you are actively seeking to join or begin an independent lawsuit or a lawsuit with other towns.
We already have a lawsuit with independent lawsuit, but no, this would be to defend. That is what this money is for.
So the independent lawsuit that you're proactively taking, how are you paying for that?
Out of our normal legal funds. We're using regular town council for that.
And how much has that accumulated at this point?
I don't know, maybe town council could tell us, but it wasn't a large amount of money because we were joining. They had similar actions that they were taking on behalf of similarly situated towns.
And to your knowledge or town council's knowledge, have any of the towns been successful in any of their suits thus far?
Defer to town council.
Town council.
So I don't have the exact number on the litigation because we just bill monthly, but I want to say it's a few $1,000s so far. At this point, the pleadings have been filed, so a complaint has been filed and a motion for an injunction, so a preliminary injunction has been filed, and a hearing has been held. And the judge still has not made a decision. So the other towns that filed similar lawsuits, they were all heard together, and the judge has not made a decision on any of those lawsuits.
I guess my final point is that $275,000 in this budgetary climate is a lot of money, and that is a repercussion of towns already vote, but $275,000 could also go to working with town planners and coming up with a zoning bylaw that might meet some of the requirements and might satisfy the certification that's due in July.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. William Keogh, Holland Trail. what are the repercussions of not spending the money? In other words, I think it's kind of a rhetorical question, but for town council, if we don't appropriate the funds, then we don't defend, but there's no, it puts the select board, I know, in an awkward position that the town voted not to participate, but there's no obligation that we have to defend that, actually, to spend the money. So if we don't appropriate the money, we don't really have to defend. It's a kind of a vote without, I mean, we're still out of compliance, but we don't have to defend.
Town council.
Right, so to be clear, that money is not my money.
No, absolutely, 100%. But your opinion as council is, I mean,
Yeah,
we don't have to actually show up in court. People do that all the time.
Yeah, so I mean, depending upon, I have no idea what action the state could take against the town at this juncture. We would be speculating, but depending upon what action is filed, yes, sure, you could get defaulted and they could fine, they could do all kinds of things. But at this point, I couldn't speak to what the repercussions were until I actually saw a complaint come down the pipe.
Because to the point of the finance committee and what was stated earlier, $275,000 to appropriate now, when we don't even know whatever court actions are coming down the pike, seems a little unnecessary when we actually, I know, Madam Chair, from the select board, you're going to say, well, we have to defend what the town voted for. But we don't have to necessarily do that with money necessarily either.
I think the board's concern was that if an action happens, you only have 20 days to file an answer. And so it would be really difficult to organize a town meeting to appropriate money at that point where you did have the knowledge. So this is a prophylactic measure. Sorry? Sure, and suffer the repercussions, yes.
Yes, sir.
Joe Campbell, 150 Woodbine Ave. I'm also the chair of the planning board. So just to make a comment and clarify some misinformation that was placed about the 275 in comparison to what the town planning office can be doing, comparing the 275 litigation requests with what the town planner is doing is like comparing apples to bowling balls. Just to let the town citizens know, the town planner is and was already coming up with zoning, unfortunately was railroaded by MBTA and diverted all attentions of the office to make sure that we are in compliance up until this July 1st. So there's already actions going on from the town planner's office. Please don't mix the 275 requests for litigation with anything that's going on in the planning department or planning office. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or questions, all those in favor of Article 14 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The nays have it. Article 14 is not adopted. Article 15, I move the town vote to transfer the sum of $9,950 from free cash to have the town hall upper and lower parking lot repaired, seal coated, and relined. Seconded. Explanation, this article will help maintain the parking lot lifespan and help protect the parking from additional holes and cracks. Repaving the parking lot would be over $100,000. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 15 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The nays have it. Article 15 is not adopted. Article 16, I move the town vote to transfer $12,692 from free cash to have the town hall fire alarm system upgraded. Seconded, the technology in fire alarm systems have advanced since town hall's current system was installed in the late 1990s. The alarm company that manages the system can no longer purchase any replacement parts. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 16 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 16 is adopted. Article 17, I move the town vote to amend Town of Hanson General Bylaws, Canine Control, Article 3-4, Section 1, as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded, this article will change the annual dog licensing period from fiscal year, which is July 1st through June 30th, to calendar year, January 1st through December 31st. The dog license renewal reminders will be sent out with the annual street listing, which will save the town postage. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 17 is adopted. Article 18, I move the town vote to amend the Town of Hanson General Bylaws, Canine Control, Article 3-4, Section 7A, as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded. Explanation. This article will change the number of dogs from 4 to 5 that constitutes the necessity of obtaining a kennel license. This will make our canine bylaws consistent with state regulations. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 18 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 18 is passed, is adopted. Article 19, I move the town vote to it's a little wonky, hold on. I move the town vote to amend the Town of Hanson General Bylaws Enforcement, Article 4-1, Section 3, is printed in the informational warrant. Seconded. Explanation. This article will increase the leash law fines as well as the late fee for failing to license dogs and bring the bylaws into compliance with the fees required by state law for kennel violations. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 19 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 19 is adopted. Article 20, I move the town vote to adopt a new general bylaw, Article 2-17, Section 6, entitled Pavement Excavation Moratorium, as printed in the informational warrant, and to authorize the town clerk to make non-substantive editorial revisions to correct any scrivener's errors and/or to ensure consistent and appropriate sequencing and numbering in the general bylaws, as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded. Explanation. This would reduce the number of members on the finance... Oh, no. Whoops. That's another Article 20. Does anybody want to explain this one? The explanation is in the regular... What happens when you go quick. Explanation. On town roads and other surfaces or portions thereof that are newly paved curb to curb or involve a lane of travel, excavation is prohibited in those areas for a 5-year period. In the case of maintenance pavement surface treatments, e.g. chip seal, fog seal, delta mist, excavation is prohibited for a 3-year period. In either case, the director of the highway department may also impose a heavy equipment or truck restriction until such time as the pavement or surface treatment has properly cured. Driveway and parking lot paving is prohibited for 60 days if abutting newly paved or micro-surfaced roads. This moratorium also applies to berms, sidewalks, walkways, bike paths, municipal parking lots, etc., that have been surfaced with, bituminous concrete or cement concrete. Bituminous. This moratorium does not apply in areas where crack sealing products have been placed. Oh, is there? Do you have it? Paul Harvey used to say, page 2. Excavation in state and private roads shall be subject to any separate moratorium that might be imposed by the specific owners and/or entities having jurisdiction. Any questions or comments regarding Article 20? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 20 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 20 is adopted. Article 21, I move the town to transfer the sum of $15,000 from free cash for private roadway improvements. Seconded. The explanation, this will provide funding and authorize the annual grading of all private gravel roads in the town of Hanson up to 2 times a year in accordance with the town's general bylaw, Article 2-17, Section 5. These funds would be used to provide for purchasing any material and to properly pitch and grade the roads to the proper elevation and compact the material, which would help stabilize these roads. These funds are required for this purpose, as well as to fill potholes with suitable material between the grading cycles as necessary for public safety and emergency access. This article will also be used on any immediate safety concerns, here it is again, on bituminous paved private roadways as well. Bituminous, thank you. Look, my vocabulary isn't that big. Any questions or comments on Article 21? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 21 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 21 is adopted. Article 22. And I'll point out that this requires a 2/3 vote. I move the town vote to remove from Hanson zoning bylaw sections 6B, 6G, and 6.1 in their entirety and replace with the language printed in the informational warrant. Seconded, explanation. A recent legislative change to Mass General Laws 40A, or Chapter 40A, Section 3, will now allow for attached and detached accessory dwelling units as of right. The above referenced sections of the Hanson zoning bylaw are being revised to meet the requirements of the legislation. This new bylaw conforms to 760 CMR section 71.01 through 71.04. The new bylaw will replace the existing language as it relates to in-law apartments and detached accessory dwelling units. The new bylaw will provide for regulations to allow for attached and detached accessory dwelling units as of right and meet Mass General Law Chapter 40A Section 3's requirements. Again, we need a 2/3 vote on this. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Dan McDonough, Carriage Road, Hanson. For this, I guess, I don't know, this one seems to me like the 3A in spirit, and also I quickly read the law with 40 Section 3. It didn't show that you had to be a resident and essentially to turn your single-family unit into a duplex, what would be an illegal duplex, say, previous to that. So it seems like anything within a half mile of a home, you can have people own a single-family home, turn it into a duplex. Is that correct? That's what I'm kind of getting from that.
We'll have the town council address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, a duplex to me would imply that you have a house that and you've
Sure.
split it in half and you have an equal amount. So this is limited to 900 square feet. So it's what used to be called an in-law apartment, and there were oftentimes zoning bylaws which said you have to be related and all of that stuff. That's been eliminated by the state. So if you don't have a compliant bylaw in place, it will just be allowed as of right with no review. And the idea of this bylaw was to put some parameters on the review process, et cetera, and other certain parameters. I will say this, the AG is still reviewing bylaws from special town meetings, and we're still getting new information, but at this point, we believe we're compliant with a site plan review, and obviously the 900 square foot cap is required by law too. So it's a really small amount of space, but you're right, it is, someone can just put that in their side yard or attach another structure to their house, or a part of their house, or if you have a barn, you can make a portion of your barn living space, whereas you might not have otherwise been allowed to do that prior to this state law.
Okay, and I guess my comment on that, and thanks you for the clarifications, like if I was a resident and I was going to stay, if there was a residency law within that it was your house, you were living there and building an in-law apartment for your parents and stuff like that. But because there's no residency law, someone could just buy a single-family home and then, blow out the side and increase to 900 square feet. So if I lived within a half mile of the MBTA, you're urbanizing, it gets to the MBTA question, but, so I do not support that. Thank you.
And I would just say, noted, but this is really not MBTA related. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, please, go ahead. You go first.
Erin Fox, 110 Catherine Road. I'm just wondering, is there a way to modify any of this language now, meaning like what the gentleman presented, like an in-law attached, which I actually have, but when we had to do it, you had to have a common door, you couldn't use a porch, it was quite a runaround. But I'm just wondering, is there a way to make it so it's not a detached unit? So that, like, I would imagine, I've heard the term granny pod, like a small home behind your home for possibly somebody else in your family? Or is there a way to change language so the people have to be related? Is there any way to change this language now so there's more parameters?
Town council.
So I have the same thing. My mom lives with me, and it had to be attached. You had to have a shared door, right? But that has all been eliminated by state law. So for example, if you made it so, I used to have to sign an affidavit saying it was my mom who lived with me, right? It was a family member. If you put that requirement in, the AG would come and take her scissors and cut that portion of the bylaw out. Likewise, if you made it so it had to be an attached thing, and the idea being, okay, I really, I'm not increasing the density and I know the people there because they're right next door to me, right? The AG likewise would cut that portion out. What she's been doing is striking those portions that aren't compliant and leaving the balance of the bylaw. So it would really just be ineffective. And the idea is to get some constraints around this so that we're compliant.
So basically, we don't have a choice on it.
You always have a choice. I can't say that, right? But it won't be compliant if you do it that way.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Matt Spencer, Whitman Street. On page 26, under gross floor area, it looks like it chopped off a statement at the end. I just wanted to make sure that that was going to be corrected in the finalized printing.
Yeah. Mr. Campbell, are you available? Who would like to go first? The town planner, please.
Thank you. Tony DeFrias, town planner. The gentleman is correct. Under definitions for gross floor area, the last sentence, it says enclosed porches or in similar spaces, period, and then it says where there. That should not be. Where there, those two words should be removed. Thank you for pointing that out. If I could.
Yes, sir.
So prior to this being amended, the town of Hanson allowed for in-law apartments under a special permit through the Zoning Board of Appeals, which were attached. Then in 2023, the town of Hanson, we passed the bylaw for detached accessory dwelling units under a special permit. With the new legislation, what it now allows is for attached and detached accessory dwelling units as of right. So what we had as an in-law apartment would just become known as an attached accessory dwelling unit. So these have been allowed in town under special permits. So what'll just happen now is it'll be as of right. It'll also go under site plan review through the Zoning Board of Appeals. So there is some regulation there. So there is within the bylaw some square footage requirements as far as 900 square feet, and it conforms to all the requirements of the legislation. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the town planner. Town planner, I have two questions for you. The first is, can you define as of right?
Okay, as of right means that there is no special conditions or special permit required by the Zoning Board of Appeals. So a person can go to the building department and ask for a building permit. The building commissioner would then look at that application and state that because this is an attached or detached ADU, they must go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for site plan review. The Zoning Board of Appeals would do a site plan review. They could condition, but they would not be able to deny.
And the second question, town planner, does this ADU bylaw have anything at all to do with MBTA zoning?
None at all. What the gentleman is seeing in the bylaw is in the legislative part of it. It says that if you're a town and there happens to be an ADU within a half a mile of a transit station or a commuter rail station, that you can't ask for additional parking spaces, which is kind of odd because if the person has a car, they're going to need a parking space. So that's the only thing. Other than that, this has absolutely nothing to do with MBTA. That is Mass General Law 40A, Section 3A. This is 40A, Section 3, which is also known as the Dover Act.
Thank you.
And to clarify for the town citizens, the Town of Hanson Planning Board heard everybody's voice loud and clear many years ago when we put out a survey. We heard that Hanson is unbelievably difficult to keep seniors in the town. It is unbelievably difficult to have first-time home buyers buy a home in the town. So the Town of Hanson Planning Board, in conjunction with our town planner and a few other towns around here on the South Shore, came up with an ADU bylaw that had some wonderful regulation in it, such as snowbirding. We didn't allow for that. What happened was that iteration went up to the state, and as the town council pointed out, was basically decimated and chopped up and sent back to us. About the only similarity that I will ever talk about between the ADU bylaw and the MBTA zoning bylaw is, once again, the state took something and shoved it back down to the towns. This is the iteration of what they chopped up and sent back to us. The original concept for this was a means for households that had the applicable space to be able to build an accessory dwelling unit for either first-time home buyers or for seniors. And that's how this came about. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, again, 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article... Oh, yes. If there be no objection, I'll take it as a friendly amendment to eliminate those two words at the end of the bylaw, and we will vote on Article 22 as amended. Seconded. All those in favor of the friendly amendment? Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 22 is amended. All those in favor of Article 22 as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Article 22 passes by the required 2/3 vote. Article 23. I move the town vote to transfer $40,000 from free cash to replenish the conservation fund. Seconded. Explanation. The Conservation Fund supports the Commission's efforts to carry out its care and custody responsibilities for open space and recreation areas. These efforts include trail building and property maintenance, such as parking area building and maintenance, provision of signage, notices, and other information, property enhancements such as mowing, invasive vegetation removal, and site cleanup, wildlife habitat and stream improvements, removal of encroachments, establishment of bounds and survey recordings, and obtaining equipment necessary to support these activities. Without these funds, the trail system will fall into disrepair and diminish public recreational use. Yes, sir.
TJ Rofi, County Road. I am the chair of the Hanson Conservation Commission. In light of the current fiscal situation, Beth, please don't get mad at me. I'd like to amend the dollar value down to $20,000.
All right. Can you submit that in writing to the clerk? All those, we have an amendment. Do we have a second? Seconded. All those, any further questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment to change the sum from $40,000 to $20,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is made. Any further comments or questions on Article 23? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 23 as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 23 as amended is adopted. Article 24. I move the town vote to appropriate free cash. That's a change from the warrant. The warrant says raise and appropriate. I've been asked to read this motion as I move the town vote to appropriate free cash in the amount of $5,000 for the required inspection of the Factory Pond Dam in fiscal year 2026. Seconded. Any questions or comments? The explanation. The Massachusetts Office of Dam Safety classifies the Factory Pond Dam as a significant hazard dam, and as a result requires that it be inspected every 5 years and repaired as needed. This inspection is due in 2026. The requested funding will pay for this inspection by a qualified engineer. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 24 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 24 is adopted. Article 25. I move the town vote to transfer $19,500 from unexpended funds appropriated in Article 10 of the 2024 annual town meeting to permit the Thomas Mill Committee to install the water wheel and make necessary repairs to the wooden boardwalk and the building at the Nathaniel Thomas Mill. Seconded. Explanation. Article 10 of the 2024 annual town meeting provided $35,000 from free cash to fund the roof repair at the Thomas Mill. This repair is complete. A balance of $19,500 exists due to a lower than expected cost of the repair. The Thomas Mill Committee would like to use this balance to install the water wheel and make necessary repairs to the wooden boardwalk and the building. Any comments and questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike Means, 342 South Street. I'm on the Thomas Mill Committee. I just wanted to give a little more information on that.
Sure.
The town, unfortunately, years ago, I'll use the word, I don't know the exact amount of years ago, we voted to have the water wheel rebuilt. We had that rebuilt, unbeknowing the stand wasn't included. Last year, South Shore Votech built the stand for us. We did it with existing funds we had from rentals to pay for that, because we only had to pay for the materials. And so we're at the stage it's ready to go in. But like I said, the articles here about the roof. The roof, we had estimates of $35,000. Unbeknownst to me, I ended up getting another estimate. At the time of getting these estimates, it was during COVID. Wood, everything was through the roof. So it came down, ended up coming in at an actual $15,500 to have the roof done. So that gave us where the $19,500 comes over. But to get this wheel installed, we're looking at, I had a bunch of people come out looking at this thing. The concrete pads that are there, no one will use them because they don't know how good they are. They're original. They don't want to put their name on it and have it fall over on somebody. So they all want to replace the concrete pads that the stands are going to sit on. So and we're going to also need a crane to get it from the parking lot down to where it belongs. So to give it a quick breakdown, for rough estimates I got right now, they're probably going to go up some because they're more than 6 months old. They're good for like 6 months, so, but they said they wouldn't go up by much. But a crane is going to be $2,480.05 for a half a day for the crane. That's the minimum they'll do. The installer coming in at the worst case scenario, him having to come in, dam it, clean it out, put new concrete in there, anchor it down, bolt it, work with the crane crew. Worst case scenario, he's looking at $11,800. Again, that's a 6-month-old estimate. As we all know, doing things around houses, estimates go up and down in time comes. So that's a total of 14,280. So that leaves us the 5,219.95 to play with for the inflation if it goes up or whatnot. Also, we have some boardwalk boards down there, if you've been down there, that are bowing. They're going to become trip hazards. Some of them are now. So we'd like, if we have that money there, to be able to fix that safety issue so the town don't get insurance claims due to tripping on anything down there. The wooden door is starting to rot. So we just saw we had this money already allocated to the mill, and we just thought it was a good use to finish doing this and getting that water wheel installed. If we can't get it installed, we're going to have to find someplace else to store this wheel. It is currently at the fire department property right now, and we need to get it out of there. They were more than generous. They've been holding on to it for 2 or 3 years, roughly, the wheel, at least. So we're trying to get it out of there so, A, it don't get damaged because it's laying on the ground, and get everything put together. I have plenty of people asking me all the time, why isn't the wheel and when's the wheel coming? It's funding, and I found a source. I'm hoping the townspeople will be on board with me on that. Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan.
I would urge the town to stop throwing money at the mill. We have spent $40,000 over the period of 5 years on a replica mill. This is a replica, and a water wheel that does nothing. It doesn't grind flour. It doesn't generate power. It's nice to look at. It's the equivalent of a windmill on a mini golf course. Please, we are in tight financial times. Stop spending money on the mill. If they want to start and raise money privately for the mill, they've never done that. Every year we come back to the town for a handout for the mill. Do not appropriate this money. Privatize it. Let someone else raise this money. But we're just throwing money away at these projects.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Marcus Lynn, 30 White Street, Hanson. I'm the Thomas Mill Committee Chair. The mill was built for the bicentennial year. It was funded by the state, the original recreation of the mill. Plus the park next to it is Memorial Park. All we get is rental fees. We're a volunteer board. We don't have means to go out and fundraise for this. We depend on the town to support us. Another couple of years, the mill will be eligible for CPC funds. As of now, we're a couple of years shy from that. Also, we have an Eagle Scout project Eagle Scout to come out and finish putting some new railing up and a sluiceway with no cost to the town. So I just would like to say, let's get this wheel. We spent enough money on the wheel already. Let's just get it installed and finish the project. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John Chagru, 120 Elm Street. I was just curious, the estimate to just repair the boardwalk and not install the wheel, if that's potentially available?
Yes, sir.
Mike Means again. I do not have an actual estimate on that. That was, just tied the projects together. I got estimates for the major project, not the little project. That little project, some of us volunteers may be able to help get that done at a cost saving, but we need materials. So that's why we're looking at that's all.
So I guess my ask would be, if we voted collectively a nay vote, could this be brought up again in October with the potential to have a line item, separate line items or?
Yes, it could be.
Okay. I'd request everyone to consider that.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, we have one. Yes. Take your time.
Hi, my name's Arlene Quimby Verity, 502 Indian Head Street. I rent out the Thomas Mill, and it isn't just rented out. It is used by the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Clean Green Hanson, all kinds of it's free for these people that use that mill for town use, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Clean Green Hanson, all kinds of things like that. It isn't just a piece of junk that's sitting there. It is used consistently by people of the town, young people, older people. So please, do pass this. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 25 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. Chair's in doubt. All those in favor, please raise your blue card and keep them up until the counters have had a chance to count you. Which was before you. My house.
$28.
28.
$75.
75.
1919.
19. All those opposed, please raise your blue card at this point. Thank you.
$6.
6. $40.
19.
19. So by a vote of 142 to 65, Article 25 is adopted. Article 26. I move the town vote to transfer the sum of $6,700 from free cash to have the traffic lights at 542 Liberty Street in front of the town hall connected to the backup generator at town hall. Seconded. This request would ensure the power supply to the traffic lights, keeping them on regardless of the town losing power during storms, keeping traffic moving safely and timely, and lessening the chances of accidents. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 26 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. The nays have it. Article 26 is not adopted. Article 27. I move the town vote to set the spending limits of the revolving accounts set forth in Hanson General Bylaw, Article 2-9, Section 3, as printed in the informational warrant. Seconded. Explanation. This article sets the spending limits for the revolving and annual revolving accounts. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 27 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 27 is adopted. Do we have a motion for Article 28? Oh, yes, sir. Are you going to make the motion?
All right, I move to see if the town will vote to repeal the adopted ban on the sale of miniature singles use containers for alcohol beverages as a general bylaw that was approved at the annual town meeting on May 6, 2024, under Article 29. The petition...
I think he needed to continue reading. Oh, okay. So the motion is made and seconded. If you'd like to continue with the explanation.
The petition upon approval would support the struggling small businesses in the town of Hanson by repealing the adopted ban on the sale of miniature single-use containers for alcohol beverages that was approved at the annual town meeting on May 6, 2024, under Article 29.
Any further comments or questions?
Mary Ann Damasio, 552 Indian Head Street. I'm the chair of Green Hanson, and we have been doing an annual cleanup for 16 years. And we've cleaned up thousands and thousands of nips on the side of the road. And I would just say that those thousands and thousands of nips mean that people are driving and drinking and throwing them out on the side of the road. In addition to the trash, I would just recommend that people would vote to keep the nip ban in place to keep our young people and adults and seniors and everyone doing less drinking and driving. Thank you.
Mr. Hayes? Oh.
This is just a thought, Mr. Moderator. I hate to see the town put any undue stress on small businesses. I know that we can't get a deposit because the state won't get involved. Is it legally possible, because as she's just saying, there's thousands of them out there, that we put a 10-cent tax of some sort in the town of Hanson on any that are sold in return? Or is that illegal? I'm just asking. Why don't we get innovative instead of always saying no?
From the look on town council's face, we do not have an answer to that at the moment.
I know the answer. Well, I figured she wanted to get up, so I figured I'd ask the question.
Yeah. And this is a citizen's petition, so they crafted it the way they wanted to craft it. Yes, sir.
Steve Smith, 4 Monroe Street. And actually, I do know the answer to that one, and the answer is no. After 2010, that is not legal. You cannot place taxes on alcohol specifically. In fact, that was actually one of the arguments I made when I petitioned this originally last year, is that the town of Hanson does not collect 1 penny from the sales of alcohol. It's not legal in the state. So I'm also just here to, now for the 3rd time, sorry everybody having to listen to me again, but it's the same arguments I made last time still stand. They're a menace. They're all over the place. The vast majority of them that have been picked up by me and many other people are found within 1/8 of a mile of liquor stores. One of the liquor stores in this town had a sign saying cold on the go, and they had them in a refrigerator selling them specifically to be drunk drive home with. Another one disobeyed the ban and is still selling them. And I mean, what can I say to that? I don't know. But the point I'm getting at is they're awful. I mean, it's not just a few thousand. It's tens of thousands of them are being found. One of the groups that we were with, they found over 19,000 of them, and almost like 15,000 were found right outside of liquor stores, like right within 1/8 of a mile of there, along the side of the road. I've personally cleaned up some of the cemeteries in town, like the Thomas Tomb, and I pulled out over 150 of them in one day. I came back 2 months later and pulled another 100 out. And that is just in one little tiny area. And I'm talking like literally just that one area that is like half the size of this room. So it's not like there's just a few of them. I pick them up all the time. Now, what I can say is that I have noticed a small decrease in them since we had the ban. The ban's only been in place for a short time. And like I said, one of the stores defied the ban. But I've already seen a small decrease. And yeah, somebody's going to make the argument inevitably that, oh, it's hurting the small businesses. No, it's really not. And they're probably also going to make the argument, oh, well, they can just go to the next town over. But yeah, that's part of the plan, is that we're the first to do it. Others are supposed to follow suit. The towns around us that we've worked with indicated that they wouldn't do it because Hanson didn't do it. So we did it first, and then now we're trying to get the other towns to do it as well, to create a bubble around us of all of the towns banned with it. Halifax and Pembroke were the ones that we had talked about before. So that's part of the plan of that. It's also only been in place for a few months. So if you're expecting a tremendous difference, especially right after the highest alcohol sales month of the year, which is the end of basically Q4. So yeah, people who already had the nips are still throwing them out. It's going to take a little while before you see tremendous difference from it. So that's all I was going to say on that. You've all heard the arguments we've made. This is now the third time I've had to come up and defend this, and apparently I'm going to have to do it twice a year now.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Wendy Lynn, 30 White Street. So you actually just answered my question. I was going to ask someone from Cleanup Green Up, was there a difference last weekend when you did it? And is there a difference, did you see a difference with, say, all litter, say Dunkin' Donuts cups versus nips from last year to this year?
Ms. Damasio.
I can only say anecdotally, because it was a really cold, rainy day, and we had fewer people, but I was cleaning up County Road and we were counting, and I would say maybe half the number from last time I cleaned it up, but it's not, we don't have the final data because we didn't have as many people.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, over here.
Thank you. So Wendy Brown, 511 McQuon, and I'll just comment on that too. Living on a really busy road, since the nip ban, my children do not have to pick up hundreds of nip bottles off of our street when we're waiting for the bus. And just talking to my other McQuon neighbors, we're like, actually, that's made such a difference, and I didn't even realize it, that they're not out there with their little pickers picking up a nip ban. So please continue to support the nip ban.
Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Serra, 491 East Washington Street. We're on a very busy road, too, at East Washington Street, and I have to say I haven't noticed that any difference. I'm still picking up as many as I was before. In fact, I've been picking up some of the larger liquor bottles as well. So,
very good. Yes, next.
Oh.
Kenny Patel, 5 Christopher Lane Hanson. I wish banning the nips would change the litter problem, but it would not. It would slap the financially on a small business. I do own business in other town, liquor store, and I would like to tell you one thing, that I have one customer that came to my store and I served him the pints and orange juice bottle. And on the way out, he threw that in my parking lot. Next time I say, I'm not going to serve him when he comes, because he threw that in my parking lot. So he came after a week and I said, I'm not going to serve you because you literally threw that in my parking lot. And you know what he said? He actually showed me the middle finger and he said, he actually went to the other store and I showed him he actually went to the other liquor store, bought that same thing, and came back in my parking lot and threw that in my parking lot. So what I'm saying here is we need to educate our people. You cannot throw, doesn't matter it's a nips, doesn't matter it's a paper glass or water bottle or anything in our town. This is our house. You cannot throw anything, it doesn't matter anything. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Arvind Patel, 903 Main Street.
Before you speak, Mr. Patel, are you here from the Village Mini Mart?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's the store that the gentleman before you alluded to. Are you still selling nips?
Yes.
I was going to say, because
I'm not owner, I'm manager.
On April 14th, I bought this nip at your establishment, and the law has been in place since January. And I don't mean to do anything more than to just bring attention to this. I don't care whether we ban nips or not. What bothers me, what really disgusts me, is when people don't follow the law that this town meeting passed. And not just once, but twice. And, you know, it's just very discouraging. This town meeting has been the ultimate legislative body for this town since 1820. And to have it just disregarded, I think what I have to do is to sit down with the board of the select board and perhaps some department heads and figure out going forward how the dictates of this meeting are going to be observed and respected going forward, because that's my primary objective. But the floor is yours.
Yeah, banning nips might be help us discreet certain unknown percentage of litter, but on the other hand, it will cause few major issues, negative impact, such as a loss in revenue to neighborhood towns, litter of bigger size on the street, because again minis are not the cause of the problem, bad behavior is the problem. We are already in uncertain economy times with a looming recession, and our sales are already slowing down, making it challenging. A mini bottle ban would take away an important source of revenue for package store. Now is not the time to keep product banned and continue hurt our local business. Thank you very much.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Can I just rebut that for 1 second? So you just made two statements. I apologize for, so he just made two statements that are not correct. One of those statements was that it affects revenue to the town. As I already stated when I began speaking, that is not true in the state of Massachusetts. There are no taxes by the town on the sale of alcohol. That is illegal. The only revenue that we receive from any of the liquor stores in this town is property tax for the building itself. It doesn't matter if they make $5,000 or $5 million in revenue. We get the same amount regardless of their sales. Second thing that he said is that he's already seen a drop in revenue when we've already just established he didn't stop selling nips. So that's a lie.
Yes, sir.
Dave Kleberg, 908 High Street. I'll be honest, I can see both sides of this, but I do not want this to turn into a war of attrition. It is now 9:59, and if you look around, a lot less people are in this auditorium. Are we going to continue to vote on this and just wait and wait and wait until enough people and we have enough articles that we can do this at 11 p.m. or maybe even midnight? We have to respect what people voted for.
Did you see the next article? It's the same.
And I think this is the final comment. Oh, Ms. Kemen, and then we'll go.
Sir, just to be clear, these are citizens petitions, so we are required to put these on the warrant. So I hear what you're saying. I do feel like it's Groundhog Day. Every town meeting, we're going to just keep voting yes, no, yes, no. So I do hear what you're saying, but I just want to make sure that you're clear that there's nobody up here that's proposing this on and off, on and off.
Yes, ma'am.
Lee Gamache, 819 Main Street, and I will tell you that I don't see a difference. I am right down the street from Village Mini Mart, and I pick up nip bottles off my yard every day.
That's because they didn't stop selling.
Mr. Santalucia.
You lived near the one that didn't stop selling.
Order.
Sorry.
Mr. Santalucia has been recognized.
I'm Pepper San Lucia, 517 West Washington Street, speaking for myself, not for the Finance Committee. But I think one of the things that hasn't been said here is that the profit margin on these nips is probably higher than anything else they sell in that store. So what they're not telling you is that they're just greedy. The second thing that I would say is I would challenge the owners of these stores. When you sell a nip, put a sticker on that nip with the name of your store, okay? You can have your own return policy. When we go, Green Hanson, when we go and pick up all those nips again, and your store name is on that nip, we'll bring it to your store. You pay us a nickel, pay us 10 cents, pay us something. We do these cleanups every spring. Help fund our cleanup efforts. You, as corporate citizens of Hanson, could do more to help us with this problem, and you haven't.
Yes, sir.
So, two things. I take the train every morning, and every evening I come home. There is nothing but trash all along Main Street. And guess what? I joke about it with my wife, and I go, hey, look, there's a nip, and there's a nip, and there's a nip. But they're not nips. They're Dunks plastic lids, soda cans, bottles, everything else. Matter of fact, if you look in this aisle right over here, someone left a soda can and all the paper from the meetings today and just left it in the aisle there, the one that no one's there. So it's like, it's a problem that we need to educate the people and find these people that litter. Start giving tickets away.
Mr. Pasquale.
Yes, Kathy DePasco, Egan, 63 Monponta Street. The understanding was that the recycle machines have holes that are larger than the nip bottles, and therefore the nip bottles cannot be recycled. The Dunkin' Donuts lids and cups and all the other larger items are able to be recycled. That's why we need the nip ban, because of the recycle machines.
Mr. George.
Yeah, I just had something to say here. I don't drink hard alcohol, so this really doesn't matter to me at all, but it is hurting business, and why should we punish the majority of consumers because of bad behavior on a few people? Most people that purchase nips don't go jump in their car and drive around tossing them out the window. Oh, let me see whose lawn I can put it on right now. That's not the case. There's many reasons why someone might buy a nip. They might want to try something before they purchase a big bottle.
No, hold on.
No?
Hold on. Now, we've had a productive debate, and I realize this is the third time we've debated this issue. But it is his petition, and I'm going to allow him to speak on his petition.
They may have somebody at home that they don't want to leave a big bottle kicking around. Maybe they just want to buy a couple of nips and have a couple of drinks at home, and that's it. They might have somebody at home that not supposed to drink. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people buy nips. I don't buy them. I don't drink, like I said, I don't drink hard alcohol. This doesn't matter to me. I do pick them up off the ground. I find them in my yard. I find Dunkin' Donuts. I find every other fast food on my front lawn. What about people that cook? You know, somebody's making bourbon meatballs. Hey, can you go get me a couple of nips? Yeah, I got to go to Rockland or I got to go somewhere else to get them because we don't sell them in Hanson. You know, I'm not going to go buy a big bottle of Maker's Mark so that my wife can make meatballs. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yes, sir. Over here.
This is not a nip problem. This is a litter problem. You know it. I know it. We all know it. It's a litter problem. It's not a drinking problem, and you're not stopping drunk drivers because we don't sell little nips.
And one moment, please. You haven't been recognized. What I would like to ask the people who are still at the microphones, if you have something new to contribute to the debate, we have heard all of these arguments several times before. I'm not sure how much new ground there is.
I have one new thing, that's it.
I spoke the last time it came up. My name's Mark Riley. I'm at 374 West Washington. I clean for the last 11 years. Nobody cleans my street. I am the sole cleaner for the three houses, the Metcalfs down next, across the street. I've never seen anybody pick up a leaf on my street. That said, I clean beer bottles. I don't get nips. I get pints, I get cans and everything. But I just wanted to make one note. I kind of agree that for the same reason we don't like MBTA, zoning coming down on us and so forth. I don't like pushing businesses into doing things they might not want to. But after hearing so many of my fellow residents say that they're getting all these nips, I'm kind of siding with them on the sheer value. So this is my new thing. I'm switching my position because most of the people, it seems like there's a lot of people that have a nip problem. So I think it should be resolved for them.
Yes, sir, right
What
here.
change?
Sir, in the red sweater.
I'll defer to this gentleman first.
Okay.
Yeah, I was only going to make one statement as a rebuttal to Mr. George. I'm sorry, but that's not correct. 42% decrease in drunk driving incidents in the cities that have banned it in the past. You're incorrect, sir.
Yes, sir. Final comment.
Patrick Powers, 255 Holmes Street. I'd like to make a motion to move to vote.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So, all those in favor of Article 28 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Nay. The nays have it. Article 28 is defeated. All right. We have a motion for reconsideration. Is it seconded? And that's the incorrect part, is that because it's a citizen's petition, they can keep filing it, and we can't do it. So I take it you're withdrawing your motion. Article 29 is the exact same thing. Do we have a motion? Seeing none, Article 29 is not lodged. I will hereby declare this town meeting adjourned and die. Please come vote May 17th at the middle school. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, in the middle school cafeteria, we will be voting, but I adjourn and die.